Good morning. How we doing? Well, it happened. It happened. I thought maybe it was a fake out. But GitHub got hacked. Yeah, same group that's been running around doing all the supply chain stuff, apparently. The team PCP. But they didn't do the same supply chain stuff that they did. I thought this would have been the irony of all ironies that NPM would have possibly been hacked or been used to hack GitHub, which has been just like the cause of so much turmoil over the past couple of weeks anyway. But no, it seems like a VS Code extension, which is one of the other main priorities that I keep harping about, right? Right? Like this is what's been going on lately. Telegraphing it from the rooftops, the threat actors. Not this threat actor, I don't think had done a ton of the VS Code extension stuff. Although that's maybe where they got into some of the other NPM packages for their worm. But, oh gosh. So in this case, GitHub's own internal repos, about 3,800 repos for github.com were actually compromised. And all it took was a single employee device being poisoned by a VS Code extension. That's it. That's all it took. And yeah, if the employee had VS Code, they were a developer, so they had access to GitHub and the repositories. This is always like, it's going to be so confusing to talk about because when I say like, oh, they had access to GitHub, it's like, oh, we're talking about GitHub's GitHub. So GitHubception now, right? Our current assessment is that the activity involved exfiltration of GitHub internal repos only. So they're basically saying no customer private repos were involved, saying that this employee did not have like special access to like your private repos or anything. We moved quickly to reduce the risk. Critical secrets were rotated yesterday and overnight. Oh, man, rip. HugOps, GitHub. I've been there. This is not going to be done, by the way. You don't rotate all your secrets instantly overnight. You don't even know what secrets are out the door yet. They're going to be responding to this for a few days. We continue to analyze logs, validate secret rotation. Yeah, this is a war room. There's a war room going on right now for sure. We don't have the information about the extension that was used, I don't think. I saw some chatter in a threat intel. Let me look really quick. I'm in a few threat intel groups. And I think I saw some chatter about the VS Code extension. But I don't know if we know that. Let's see. Let me just make sure. If I have any info, I'll be happy to share it with you guys. Seems like people are thinking maybe an auto update. Oh, Tuckner said this. Maybe an auto update of a popular extension. Interesting. Hold on. Let's see. What does this say? We're continuing. Am I still sharing? Yeah. We're continuing to work with Microsoft and GitHub. Who's this? NX Dev Tools. To investigate the impact of the malicious NX. So here's the extension. What's up, Mohammed? Good morning. So this might be the extension. It doesn't say this in any of the GitHub information. Initially, Microsoft indicated to us that there were 28 installs of a malicious version of NX Console. Based on our own analytics for the compromised version, we currently believe the number of users who received the malicious package may be significantly higher, over 6,000 installs. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, looks like this is the extension that popped GitHub. So the hackers used the same MO as NPM worm, but instead of a wormy boy, they pushed a malicious extension, VS Code extension out. Right? NX console says they see evidence of 6K downloads of the malware. Okay. Look, I even avoided a little red siren emoji. No hate to Prime, but I could have just tweeted that with a red siren emoji. All right, we'll keep working to determine the actual impact and exposure. I don't want to speculate beyond the facts we have right now. This is top priority right now, our team. Okay. I'm going to drop this in chat so everyone has this tweet. This seems to be the thing behind this. Does this article talk about that yet? No. So the news hasn't NX. No, the news hasn't caught on to which one it was. So I'm glad that I saw that in my threat intel group. Thank you, Tuckner, if you're listening. All right. GitHub. Is GitHub talking about this anywhere but Twitter? Let's see if GitHub has said anything else. That was 11 hours ago. No, that's their most recent update. We'll publish a fuller report. Okay, so that's the most recent from GitHub about the incident. They did say that they were investigating claims of unauthorized access because we saw this pop out first, right? So Team PCP came out on breach forums or whatever, breached. We are here today to advertise GitHub source code and internal orgs for sale. No lowball offers will be accepted. Everything for the main platform is here. I'm very happy to send samples. There are around 4,000 repos. Now we know it's 3,800. What? Hold on. Threat actors are using limewire.com to distribute this stuff? TIL, that LimeWire is still a thing. Had no idea. Please read carefully to understand. As always, this is not a ransom. We do not care about extorting GitHub. One buyer, we shred the data on our end. So it looks like our retirement is soon. So if no buyer is found, we will leak it for free. We are not interested in under $50,000. Is that really all that GitHub's source code is worth, is $50,000? That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. This isn't the first time a Trojanized VS Code extension has been spotted on the marketplace. VS Code extensions with 9 million installs were pulled over security risks, posing as legitimate dev tools. Yeah, a lot of them were in the crypto space. I've talked about this ad nauseum on my videos. If you guys are not new here, you are not new to browser and IDE extensions having malware in them, right? Like, I think everyone knows that there could be malicious extensions out there. I think the thing that people are needing to like internalize is that legitimate extensions that they have installed can turn malicious and do, right? The MO here is exactly the same as all the NPM extensions. Compromised GitHub account of a maintainer of one of these extensions can then cut a release. And the release can have malware in it, right? What up, Jay? What up, Bill? Oh my gosh. What's up, Small Biz? Small Biz, did you write me this morning? You're sharing an episode of Small Biz Cyber Guy. It's not DNS until it is. Yeah. Vote, check it out. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up on stream for everybody in a sec. Small biz. All right. Anything else from this incident we need to learn? Not yet, right? Not yet, right? I mean, that's a big deal. And there's going to be ripple effects from that source code going out, right? All right, everyone go listen to this podcast by Small Biz in chat right now. Can I just click update? I don't have an account here. Sorry. Small business cybersecurity guy. I love it. I love it. There you go. A little promo for you. Thanks for hanging out in chat. I'll give this a listen when I get a chance. You should publish on YouTube as well. Even if it's like audio only. YouTube podcasts for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, thank you for always hanging out. What else? What else do I want to talk about? Did we, it is on YouTube. Okay, cool. Well, let me pull that up instead of that pod radar thing. I don't know what that site is. What's it called? Small Biz Cyber. Let's search it. Small Biz Cyber Podcast. Did not come up. We got to work on your YouTube SEO. What's it called? The Small Business Cybersecurity Guy. Let's try that as a, yeah, okay, there you go. Boom. Subscribe. And you put your podcast out here. Updated today. Sweet. There you go. Cool. Good job. More YouTubers, more cyber YouTubers, more better. All right. I don't know what else we could talk about on this GitHub hack. Should we try? Let's try to go find this VS Code extension really quick, actually. Right? Let's try to find this really quick. Let's do a little bit of digging. So I'm not familiar with NX console. But hey, look, they actually did the security advisory on GitHub thing. Oh my God, did that, wait. We have to go check that Ant V one from yesterday. This one. Let's see. Refresh security. Nothing. This is the ground zero of the NPM worm yesterday, and they still don't have a freaking security advisory. How do you, like, hey, AntViz, you're like the heart of a million weekly download NPM worm right now, and you have nothing in your security tab on your GitHub repo? They had something in their org readme. Okay, here. NPM packages related to AntV were compromised. All affected packages were depreciated. NPM official support was contacted to remove all compromised packages within 4 hours. The related vulnerabilities and security risks have not been fully resolved. Yeah, this is great, but this is on your org page. How about in your repos and like S2 or G2, this is a 13,000 star repo, should probably have something. Does it have anything in the README here? Nothing. Your build is failing. Nothing. And then security. Come on. We got to let people know what versions were compromised here. You got to put it here for advisory. All right. Anyway, kudos to NX Console for doing this, right? You go to security and quality, guess what? Compromised version, even though it's not there anymore. Whoa, this was 2 days ago. So the VS Code extension used in the GitHub hack already 2 days ago publicly said that they were compromised. Wow. Wow, that's huge, right? All right, timeline. The Microsoft Marketplace timeline is as follows. All right, we have times, but we don't have dates. Like, how many days ago was all this, right? Indicators of compromise. We have this version number. And then these are the payloads. This kitty cat pie, basically anything in a kitty folder. A Python process running cat pie. Update the NX console to 18.100 or later because 95 was compromised. Kill any daemonized cat processes. Delete the persistence artifacts listed above. Man, these guys are good at like squirreling into your system as soon as they're in, huh? There's been a bunch of persistence shit that we've been seeing from these NPM worms too. Targeted credentials. Oh, shocked at the credentials that get targeted. Who would have freaking thought? I'm being sarcastic. This is every single attack by this group goes after the same bits of information. Right? It's your vault, your NPM, your GitHub, then all your cloud stuff and any like other secrets that they can hoover at. One of our developers were compromised by a recent security incident which leaked their GitHub credentials. So this could be a ripple effect of one of the NPM worms, right? Right? That's what that's telling me. Oh, did I stop sharing? Wow. Wow. So it actually looks like it could have been. So even though it was a VS Code extension, it looks like if you go one step back, you're potentially into the NPM worm land, huh? That's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. All right. What else do we want to talk about? Chat, you're quiet today. It's fine. You're allowed to be quiet. But what else do we want to talk about? Yellow key. I had some yellow key info up. I'm looking at this. So Microsoft cut a CVE on that. So we got that disgruntled security researcher who's sick of reporting things responsibly to Microsoft and is now just like publishing things publicly. So Yellow Key is one of those. This is the BitLocker bypass. So it looks like the CVE actually came out. So let's look at this really quick. So we have a BitLocker bypass now as of yesterday. No way. You were locked out of a laptop and you used Yellow Key to get back in? That's such a good idea. We are aware of a security feature bypass in Windows publicly referred to as Yellow Key. The POC for this vulnerability has been made public, violating coordinated vulnerability best practice. Hey, you don't get to say that when the guy has just tried so bad to coordinate with you and you frustrated him so bad that he's gone public with everything since then. What's up, Tanker? Which hack? The GitHub hack? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. We just went through it. Do you have any specific questions? We can kind of pull it back up if we need to, but we're issuing a CVE to provide mitigation guidance that can be implemented to protect against this vulnerability until the security update is made available. So the mitigation refers to, before a patch, you can mount the WinRE image on each device from an elevated command prompt, run cmount, mount the system registry hive of the mounted WinRE image, modify boot execute. Oh my God, who the hell is going to do this and not just wait for a patch? This is insane. Specifically, you prevent the FSTX auto recovery utility from automatically starting when WinRE launches. With this change, the transactional NTFS replaying that deletes this any no longer happens. But wait, you clever security conscious person exclaims, if WinRE partition is unencrypted, what stops an attacker from simply splatting back a vulnerable WinRE partition image? You are right. You can indeed do this, and you'll get a command prompt when WinRE is entered. However, the modification of WinRE will cause the trust relationship between BitLocker and WinRE to fail. And as such, while you are at your handy command prompt, you will not get an automatically decrypted BitLocker partition. If this guidance is too sloppy, this guy's provided a script that'll do it. Interesting. I mean, this is just a disaster, right? And this is why they want coordinated vulnerability disclosure, because this mitigation just stinks. So they don't want to have to put this out. They want to just put out a fix. But yeah, the same researcher put out Blue Hammer, Red Sun, and Green Plasma. Someone said they're going through the colors of the Microsoft window here, which blue, red, green, yellow. They went around. So who knows what's going to be next. While the exact circumstances that triggered this spree of exploit leaks are unclear, Nightmare Eclipse, that's the researcher's handle, previously said that these disclosures are in protest of how Microsoft handled the disclosure process for other security flaws reported in the past. Yeah, small biz, you're not the only person to think that. It seems a little too convenient, right? That yellow key works as easy as it does. You're not the only person to be like, is this a on-purpose backdoor? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. All right, that's nuts. Oh, and it's easy. Yeah, it's like too easy, right? It's too easy. Did we talk about the CISA creds yesterday on stream already? I made the short last night about it. I can't remember if we talked on stream about it already. God, oh, we did. Okay. My blog, my RSS feeds are kind of sloppy right now. I feel like a lot of sponsored content came out on the news sites in the last day or so. What is this? What is this? 1Password teams up with OpenAI to stop AI coding agents from leaking creds. 1Password says AI coding agents should never hold persistent secrets, introducing a just-in-time credential model for Codex. This might actually be a really good idea. 1Password partnered with OpenAI, protecting enterprise creds. How does this actually work? AI coding has become, every action that AI coding agents take against the database API. Today, these creds typically live in in env files, scripts, or hard-coded repositories where they could be, this is like why we're dealing with a lot of the mess that we're dealing with right now. 1Password introduced environments MCP server for Codex. It gives Codex access to creds directly inside coding workflows while keeping those secrets out of prompts, code, and model context. Credentials are issued just in time and scope to the task. This might actually be a really good idea. Because if you guys do a lot with Claude Code and even like MCPs and stuff, you know that, right? Like you wind up giving it, it's like, oh, well, you got to set that as an environment variable. Well, what do, right? You generally just like give it to, you give it to Claude Code and you're like, yeah, stick this in an environment variable. I know a lot of people do that, right? So then what happens? Then Claude has the secret. You're of the opinion OpenAI, Anthropic, and now Google are just following a script of one does something bad, the other two raise prices, then both of them do something bad. OpenAI raises prices. I like this. I think you're not too far off. It's a cycle of getting people off one onto the other. Yeah, I mean, we are currently like the beneficiaries of the arms race going on over there, right? They're certainly spitting the same features back and forth at each other. This might, I have to test this, but this is a good idea in theory, right? So you don't have to stick a bunch of creds in environment variables or in code or in even like dot hidden files. A lot of people do. So the fact that you can vault your secrets and then give just-in-time access, that's the part that I would want to evaluate, is like, how do you actually enforce... Where are they saying this? Here. Credentials are issued just in time and scoped to the task while keeping them outside of model's context window. How do you enforce that? You know what I mean? You can't just like ask the agent nicely, you know? So like, how do you enforce that it's scoped to the task? That's what I'd have to test. Either way, good idea that it's kept in the vault and not in a file or an environment variable. Yeah, I mean, I like this. It's a good idea. All right, I need to grab a drink and a bite to eat because I'm feeling a little over caffeinated, underfed. So I'm going to run and grab like a banana and something. And I'm going to leave you guys with a bit of a babysitter in my good friend Low Level. And he's going to talk about the problem with AI agents. And then I'll be right back in like 2 seconds. Okay. Ed, sorry if you're here. I'm making you watch yourself, but that's just where we're at. I need to go grab something before I pass out.
Nightmares. The last few weeks, my nightmares have included the following things: AI agents and post-install scripts. Now, what I'm experiencing today in real life is some combination of the two. Update to Gemini CLI and run Gemini CLI Trust Model because of a 10.0 CVSS CVE in Gemini CLI. The combination of my two nightmares has manifested in real life, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. Let me be very clear. I think that using AI to do PR code review is actually a very good thing. Using AI-assisted tooling to look at PRs and give a summary of the change is actually a really good way to reduce the amount of debt that people have to deal with. However, if you use those tools in a wrong way, or if those tools have vulnerability, that's where the entire castle comes crashing down. For example, big organization, Red Hat, they're actively right now using a workflow that does a PR review using Gemini to review the pull request that somebody submits. Again, a good thing. But what happens if there's a vulnerability inside of Gemini? To do a pull request in CI, at the end of the day, you have to be using the Gemini CLI or the Run Gemini CLI workflow that already exists. The problem with these is to use them in a headless mode, to use them in a way that you can use in a CI/CD deployment, they have to run in YOLO mode. YOLO mode is literally the mode that allows you to run arbitrary commands on the system, which again is by design when you're doing Gemini CLI in CI/CD. It has to run this way so that the CLI can run arbitrary tooling, which is fine if you explicitly enable -- YOLO. But what happens if your pull request includes a malicious Gemini settings.json? Settings.json is a very normal, very benign JSON file that configures your agent. You enter Vim mode. Maybe you want to use the GitHub theme because you hate yourself. Maybe you want to run a set of tools inside the Docker sandbox. Wow, the tools option allows you to run in a sandbox. That's incredible. But in classic tooling fashion, there is a hook. And the hook comes in a variety of forms. One of them is before tool, but the other is before agent, which means after the user submits the prompt, but before planning, before any AI agent is run, it will run a before agent hook. And that hook can be a command. It can be a command named security check that arbitrarily runs any command on the system, which again, is fine if you, as the author of the code, are the one that's authoring the command. But here's the big issue. When you do a pull request, guess who controls the code? You, potentially you, but more importantly, the hacker, right? The evil person is in charge of the code. So what could happen here, again, before they fix this vulnerability, is a hacker could submit a malicious pull request, and then a GitHub workflow would fire. And again, this is literally just Red Hat. I'm using them as an example. They didn't get hacked. I'm just showing you that workflows like this do exist. You can submit a pull request. The pull request workflow, the Gemini PR review will run. And again, this is a pull request target if they get opened. So it'll run on open, and then you will fire the PR pull request review using Gemini. But the issue is, up until this was...
Did you all behave with the babysitter? Thanks, Ed, for babysitting, everyone. We scope permissions to the task is one of those things you're just allowed to say, even though it's meaningless. What up, Zach? That's what, like, that news felt like a press release for sure. And I'm just like, that's not like, you have to enforce that. Like, you have to enforce that. All right, sorry I left you with the babysitter. I was about to pass out. I needed calories. I skipped breakfast and I was like, what is happening? Why am I feeling like doo-doo caca? Zach, how you doing? How's startup life? Do we want to finish this video? Are you guys liking this video? Chat's quiet today. I watched a bit of it earlier, so I don't need to like watch it over because I just like played it for you guys. But this is all right, let's keep going.
Author of the code are the one that's authoring the command. But here's the big issue. When you do a pull request, guess who controls the code? You, potentially you, but more importantly, the hacker, right? The evil person is in charge of the code. So what could happen here, again, before they fix this vulnerability, is a hacker could submit a malicious pull request, and then a GitHub workflow would fire. And again, this is literally just Red Hat. I'm using them as an example. They didn't get hacked. I'm just showing you that workflows like this do exist. You can submit a pull request. The pull request workflow, the Gemini PR review will run. And again, this is a pull request target if they get opened. So it'll run on open, and then you will fire the PR pull request review using Gemini. But the issue is, up until this was patched, you were able to run any arbitrary commands within the context of Gemini settings.json, which would run inside of the CI/CD runner as the organization, which means that by getting arbitrary code execution inside of the CI/CD runner, you can potentially extract their tokens, their API keys, anything that was living inside of the environment that your payload was running in. Now, continuing on the theme of nightmares, let's talk about Team PCP. If you're not aware, Team PCP is the threat actor that is behind a majority...
Yeah, we just can't stop talking about them, right? They're like super active right now. Well, they said they're close to retirement. I don't know what that means, but...
of the large-scale supply chain attacks that have been happening for the last couple of months. These include Light LLM, these include Trivy tool, this includes the Checksmarks tool, which is a software...
This includes GitHub.com. Low Levels video came out before GitHub got hacked.
Composition analysis tool, right? A software security tool, and apparently Telnix, another one that I haven't heard of. These all originally were derived from some compromise of CI/CD, right? Again, it's this weird pattern where companies are using good development tooling, they're using good security practices, and because they're using them, a bad assumption about the way that we're using them is causing huge downstream effects. Now, I'm not saying that this tool is the reason why these exploits happen. I'm not saying that Team PCP exploited vulnerability in Gemini CLI. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying, though, is this reliance on CI/CD, which likely now includes AI tooling with settings files that are not properly sanitized, is a large-scale pattern that we're seeing, which could be enabling actors to do this kind of compromise, right? Again, we all of these hacks have something to do with a compromised CI/CD pipeline or the use of a compromised CI/CD action, right? I think the Trivy action got compromised.
Yeah. So like, this is why I just like keep bringing up this this blog post put out by Rami over at Wiz, right? It's just like, oh my God. Unfortunately, we're just not seeing people actually doing a lot of this, right? The stats just show that 80% of repos just do not have the kind of hardened permissions in GitHub to protect against these kinds of attacks that we have. And this is when I stop blaming users and start blaming the company. If at best 20% of your users are doing things right, and in reality it's like you really want to be in like these three, right? All repos for selected actions is still a little broad. So you really want to kind of be in here. So like in reality, you have 0 to 1% of your users scoping things down in a hardened way. At that point, it's GitHub's fault, right? Have you guys ever heard like the MFA adoption rates on some popular sites? It's not good. People do not opt into security features. People do not opt into like friction that makes their job harder just in case. It just doesn't happen. Let me make myself smaller so you can see Ed's beautiful face.
Which caused the like LLM compromise, for example. Or I think the Axios compromise, right? The compromise of the Axios workflow was done because Axios used the checksmarks tool under the hood. In March of this year, Team PCP leveraged an attack that took advantage of an Aquabot service that allowed them to compromise the Trivy action repository. Following that, also in March, Aqua Security Trivy, which was compromised by Team PCP, that was able to use some vulnerability in their GitHub action to compromise their GitHub action in Kix and AST, which eventually led to downstream effects. Now, it's very important to highlight that the way that CI/CD works under the hood is when a payload is getting ran by the CI/CD, there has to be a runner that runs it. Now, a lot of the runners are ran by GitHub, right? By default, when you run a workflow in GitHub, it is a GitHub hosted runner for you. But it's also very common for large companies or companies want to have like a certain kind of thing run on the runner to run a self-hosted runner. The payload will get picked up by a local binary on your infrastructure and it'll pull it down and run the workflow on your behalf, right? It's a very common thing to do. Now, the issue with this, again, is if you design your work stream around the fact that the code running in your runners is trusted, and this kind of exploit, the Gemini CLI bug is exploited where now they have code execution in your runner. If you don't properly protect the data or expose trusted data inside of those runners, you're going to have a bad time. Your API keys could get picked up. Your environment variables for other processes that are at the same privilege level that contain things like database credentials or API credentials could also get compromised. For those of you watching this, you may be asking, like, what do I do about this, right? What do I do with this pattern of supply chain getting attacked and Gemini CLI and potentially other tools being used in this way that could be malicious by a threat actor when they're doing a pull request, right? Ultimately, I think the only correct response to this is you have to assume everything is compromised, right? Assume that what you're doing is going to lead to a compromise in some capacity. And as a result, if someone were to land in a place like your local GitHub runner, or if someone were to land in your pull request environment that is maybe cloud hosted, what about that could lead to a further compromise, right? Like if you're running a self-hosted runner, That's
like everything we're reading about right now is ripple effects of the same people doing the same things, right? And so, like, yeah, I mean, they're just telegraphing their MO. They're not even just telegraphing their MO. They're using the same, like, attack to go and attack the next person, attack the next person, and attack the next person. And it's all hinging around GitHub. And then the fact that GitHub got hacked today from it is just pure irony. I see the hi Matt chat. It just says LinkedIn user. I'm sorry, I don't see who. I'm not catching who from LinkedIn just said hi. I forgot that I was even live on LinkedIn right now. So that's the first chat that came through. I forgot that I left the LinkedIn and Twitter things checked on my live stream. Most of the people are over in YouTube or Twitch. Security through obscurity is used most.
Expose any interesting credentials in other processes that run at the same level as that runner. If that's the case, use the Linux user scheme, use the Linux permission model, and create new users for those processes so that maybe they can't run forever, so that they can't run and steal your credentials. Also, use proper sandboxing. Like, I'm hoping that if you're doing self-hosted runners, you're also using Docker or something similar that prevents a compromise from getting outside of that local, basically root jail that Docker sets up. Now, if you're running Docker containers as root, that's a whole other conversation that we should have about you not doing that in the future. But ultimately, that's where this goes, right? Pretend that everything is compromised. If something gets compromised, what are you going to do about it? Also worth noting that Google did submit mitigations for this. I think what happened is they made a new flag where Gemini Trust Workspace is not enabled by default. So if your workspace genuinely does run only on PRs from trusted collaborators, you can turn on Gemini Trust Workspace, bada bing, bada boom, and it's all good. Otherwise, you need to use the new version of the Google GitHub Actions Run Gemini CLI workflow that in versions 391 and 40.0 Preview 3 basically don't trust the workflow settings by default. And it's important to note that some people do pin specifically to a certain Gemini CLI version. You need to up that pin to actually get the new version because every version before these versions was
Yeah. So, I mean, this is, all right, let me switch this back before I switch screens. Great vid. Good job, low level. So, I mean, this is just everywhere right now. Let me pull up. I had a thread get a lot of attention yesterday, and I think it got a lot of attention because it's not like there's a universal answer, right? So we could even see. So I posted this thread. Everyone using Claude Code, Codex, I guess, we could even say Gemini, CLI, right? Like what Ed was just talking about. How are you enforcing them to not pull new and potentially malicious packages from NPM and PyPy? This isn't exactly what he was just talking about, but I mean, it's just related. It's all like, we're all just using these agentic CLI things nowadays. So this was, how are you enforcing? Again, like what Zach just said in chat that we were kind of laughing about the 1Password blog that's like scoped and permissioned to the task. It's like, yeah, but how are you enforcing that? A lot of people are saying the word sandbox, and it's like that word means something. Sandbox means something, and you're not actually talking about a sandbox. A lot of people are talking about like a guardrails.md file or a security.md or like whatever it is, or like I just told the agent to never do this. Like tell the agent to use this other package manager instead of npm. And so that's why I asked this, is because like, how are you enforcing, not suggesting, not like some line in a agentic markdown file, right? And so it seems like there's a few options. There's no universal answer. It seems like Datadog has a supply chain firewall, which I did not know about. SCFW by Datadog. So you do SCFW in front of your normal package manager, it seems. SCFW run npm install. So this is one. So then, but I had a question about how do you, like, again, Claude Code, install this on your machine. All future installs requests to npm pipeline will get routed through it. No, that's like not true by default though, right? How's it going to block? Pulls from a variety of sources to know when a newly updated package is malicious. Our research team also analyzes. What's the difference between this and the SFW on socket? Yeah, he didn't answer. That's another thing. Can we get a GitHub workflow? Can this be used in a GitHub's action workflow? These are all really good questions. So I didn't know about this Datadog one, but like what he says here is not true, right? Unless I'm missing something. Like install this on your machine and then boom, all requests for packages will get routed through this from now on. You have to run this command. And what I'm saying is Claude Code will just build its own package JSON and run npm. So like, how do you enforce it? Okay, post-installation steps. To get the most, it's recommended to run scw configure command after installation. This will run you through environments, so all commands for supported package managers are passively run through this. Okay, so there is a configuration to make sure that this happens, right? You can, yeah, someone in chat, you can use hooks. Yeah, I was getting there, right? But like by default, just installing this doesn't like auto route everything through, right? Unless I'm missing something. By default, this is in keeping with the goal of blocking 100%. Wait, will refuse to run inspected subcommands with an unsupported version. All right, so maybe somewhere in this configure situation, there is an enforcement mechanism that I'm not aware of. Because then, like, couldn't you then just not write scw run npm install? Because couldn't Claude Code then just do this? Is what I was getting at. So then, like, someone in chat just said, yeah, a lot of people were just like, you don't. The answer is we're not. Akaido has another one. Safe chain. So this is similar to what we were just looking at, right? A bunch of different package managers. You install this, install safe chain, and then what? Verify the install. So this is interesting because then this isn't a new command. This is still in the npm command. So I like that better, right? Safe chain has a minimum package age, and all of this kind of stuff, right? So this is another option, Hokkaido. And then we have memes. Yes, Casey. This is how we're protecting against it. Tuckner was the one that I kind of hooked onto, right? Because they've got this socket firewall, which is just SFW. But again, my question was like, yeah, cool. You can install this, but then you would have to like run SFW npm install instead of just npm install. So I said, couldn't Claude just like not use that, right? Like, could if you were like talking to a Claude agent, wouldn't like it just not do it, right? And so then he said, oh, you just create an alias. So like the commands on the machine for pnpm and npm are just whatever. So I was like, okay, this makes sense to me. I kind of like this. But then someone said, no, you want to use pre-tool hooks. And that's what Francesco is saying in chat as well, right? What do I think? Hey, what do you think about the new M-dash? I'm really interested in M-dash. I'll talk about that in a sec. Let's get to the end of this this topic. I'll bring that up in a sec. I'm super interested. I've heard really good things through the grapevine about it. So yeah, this person came out and said, use pre-tool hooks, which will intercept all NPM commands and redirect to SFW NPM. Most agent harnesses support hooks these days. Ask Claude to add the hook for you. This is what everyone says, right? Unsure about codex enforcement, though. This was my one thing about hooks was, isn't this per agent? Right? Like Claude manages its own hooks, Codex manages its own hooks, Gemini manages its own hooks, right? So like you have to create the hook for every agent, right? But then hooks can do this. So this makes sense to me. I'll tell you, I just did this for today, right? And like, I think that this is probably good enough even without hooks. I think. Agent empty and rules enforce agent to go through. Yes, I'm so nervous about that though, right? Because that's not like, I've seen over and over again, agentic tools have like rules and stuff in an agent MD file or in like a guardrails MD file that wound up getting ignored at some point. You know, like look at the head of AI safety at Meta that deleted their entire email box with OpenClaw. And it's like, what? My agent MD file said to never do anything like that. You know? So it's like context windows are a thing, and some of these instructions that are loaded via agent MD fall out of context windows. Agent installation in the machine block. Yeah, there's probably some layers here. Defense in depth. Yeah. So I went with this because I think that like there's not going to be a lot of, basically what would have to happen here for this to fail is the agent would have to realize that an alias fired instead of the command that it thought to fire. And the agent would have to be so gung-ho that like it wants to do it the real way, not the alias way, that it would go and try to get around this, right? AI is going to hack us all. Mythos! Mythos is going to hack us all. I think that this is probably good enough advice. And then maybe the hooks as like a second layer, right? I think that's my my recommendation. why not do this? I haven't evaluated Socket versus Akaido versus Datadog enough to understand who or why any of those are better, right? Socket seems pretty on top of things. It's a free firewall. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Oof. Oof, big oof. Oh, man. I don't even know if I want to pull up some drama. Zach, you were about to get me. Oh, man, Zach, I'm so tempted to pull your tweet up. I'm certainly sending it to some homies. Oh, my gosh. Zach, I don't know if you're still here, but oh man, major oof on oh no. Oh, the gang's all here. You guys were quiet this morning. We got Francisco, Brandon, Portbuster. How's everyone doing? Oh my God, Zach. Do it. Okay. I'm officially peer pressured. I'm officially peer pressured into this big ol' oof. Oof. I am sending this to some homies though. Oh no. So I saw that this spam was going out yesterday, and like I'm usually pretty tolerant of people advertising, especially their free tool. I'm pretty like Socket does this a lot, right? And I like the Socket guys, and so I'm usually pretty tolerant of this. But this is a bad look, man. This was the malicious version, and Zach went and tested the thing that. I mean, this is the incident they're talking about specifically too, right? Like the incident that they're out there being like, hey, you could have used our tool to catch. And like that is the root cause of the incident. Oof. I think Gotti does a lot for the security and AI community. You know, I think Unprompted is an awesome conference. I don't know Gotti super well, but I think he does a lot for the community. That's not a good look. Ooh. Have I seen Zach XBT tweets? Which ones? Yeah. I passed around a Zach XBD thread. I passed around and oh man, Zach, oh God. Oh man, that's bad. That's bad. You mean when I delete on the Google button, it doesn't really delete? Ooh, click it harder. Click that delete button harder. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Someone asked me about M-Dash. I had it up. So I have a little bit of inside baseball here that says this is actually super cool. Has anyone in chat gotten their hands on this yet? You can apparently apply to get your hands on this. Right? So this is their new harness. So I am officially camp harness. Okay. Here's where the Matt J line of thought. Yeah, this is M-Dash. This is how my line of thought went. I thought that we were going to see like a tapering off. I don't know. I'm like doing it backwards. I thought we were going to see a tapering off of the capabilities of frontier models, right? This is what I thought a couple months ago. I was like, models are going to keep getting better, but like not exponentially so. And like really, and I was calling it scaffolding at the time. Like people weren't really calling it harnesses, but I would say like context management and scaffolding and like getting the right context to the right model at the right moment, scoped tight, is going to be like the future. And that's like where all these startups were popping up, right? All the AI pen testers and SOCs and all this kind of stuff. I was like, okay, this is a bunch of scaffolding around the models. And that's where the magic is going to be. And then February 5th came along and Opus 4.6 came out. And I was like, oh, nope, never mind. The curve has not bent yet. The frontier models are still getting exponentially better, right? And it was like, oh shit. Like Opus 4.6 can do a bunch of stuff out of the box that required hardcore, talented people making amazing scaffolding or harnesses. And now just Claude for $20 can do a lot of that, right? So I was like, I am wrong, right? I'm wrong. Like frontier models are getting that much better. Then I'm kind of coming back around that the frontier models are getting exponentially better, but harnesses are still incredibly important. So we looked at, I think it was like, this is the best blog that I read. If you guys missed yesterday's stream, I went over this blog. So go back and watch the VOD. I'll put this link in chat again. This is one of the best blogs of the year for a few reasons. It just talks about their Cloudflare's experience with Mythos and exploit chaining and POCs and whatever. But the real value here is they talk about how just like pointing even Mythos at a repo is marginally successful versus holy shit, what they can do with a harness. And then they even go through and talk about their whole harness and like what it is, like what their harness actually looks like. It was a really good blog post. And they don't quite stick the landing, but these couple of paragraphs I think are some of the most important to read in the industry right now, right? I'm going to read them again, even though we did this yesterday. The loudest reaction to Mythos preview from other security leaders has been about speed. You can scan faster, patch faster, compress the response lifecycle. And oh my God, I fucking love these two paragraphs because this is just faster whack-a-mole, but faster whack-a-mole is still faster whack-a-mole. It's still just whack-a-mole, right? More than one team we've spoken to is now operating under a 2-hour SLA from a CVE release to patch. That's still whack-a-mole though, right? This is still vulnerabilities. You're still just trying to find and fix vulnerabilities. But what they talk about, he goes, this instinct is understandable. When the attacker timeline shortens, the defender timeline must shorten with it, but faster is not going to be enough. We think a lot of teams are about to spend a lot of time, effort, and money learning that the hard way. Oh my God. I'm like vibratingly excited about this conclusion here. Patching faster does not change the shape of the pipeline that produces the patch. Read it again. Patching faster does not change the shape of the pipeline that produces the patch or produces the bug. If regression testing takes a day, you cannot get a 2-hour SLA without skipping regression testing. If the bug you ship when you skip regression testing tend to be worse than the bugs that you were trying to patch. We learned with an early version we tried to let the model write its own patches. We watched a few go out that fixed the original bug while quietly breaking something else the code depended on. The harder question is what the architecture around the vulnerability looked like. I literally did this. I took over AppSec at my last job and I stopped. Like I was like, you guys are not vulnerability scanning anymore. We're not doing it well enough or fast enough. This doesn't matter, right? Like, no, let's stop these vulns from being written, right? Like, what can we do to write guardrails that make the vulns not go out the door to begin with instead of just finding them faster? Like, what can we do? You don't like marketing claims from Microsoft? The marketing is getting in your head, my man. What marketing is getting in my head? That's a bold claim. I think I tend to talk directly to practitioners and not trust marketing blogs is like generally my MO. But what if you're talking about the Cloudflare blog, or if are you having like a side thought about the Microsoft blog that I just zoomed away from really quick? The Cloudflare blog, this isn't, I'm annoyed that they don't really stick the landing here, because the conclusion that this person comes to is that the defenses that sit in front of the application and block the bug from being reached is the actual more important thing. And that's very convenient because Cloudflare puts out a WAF. I don't think that that's the same conclusion that I come to. I think that's a layer, right? I think this defenses that you put in front of the application is a layer. My take is this is much more important. Patching faster does not change the shape of the pipeline that produces the patch. So how do you shape the pipeline that produces the code? What kind of security guardrails do you put in that place to make it impossible for the developer to write the bug to begin with? This doesn't mean WAF, right? I don't sit there and trust WAF. Okay, sorry, that was a side tangent from this, because I think this is more data that harnesses are more important. And I completely agree. This is a marketing blog. I think the first time I read this, I said that, but I've seen enough evidence, enough times. Cloudflare's blog now, Mozilla put out their blog about their capabilities with a harness and Mythos. And you compare that to like curl, which they didn't give curl Mythos access. They just said, hey, we'll run Mythos on curl. And they found like a bug. And I think there's some lessons to be learned running Mythos without talking, at least transparently, about the harness that they've created around it, versus the people that are coming out and being very transparent about the harnesses that they've created and the success that they're having with AI models finding vulnerabilities because of the harness. Did YouTube just die? Are you guys still here? Is YouTube still here? Are you guys still here? Yeah. Fucking Restream, man. Restream is saying YouTube has 0 people. Fucking Restream, man. There's not a piece of software that I use daily that I hate more than Restream. Oh my God. It just went to 0. It said viewers 0. And I was like, did my stream just die? No. It just fucking said this. What up, Ron? Speaking of not finding vulnerabilities and making vulnerabilities impossible to write, Ron was one of the node brains behind that actual idea and execution. So, Ron, good to see your name pop up. I just want to know what path Microsoft is on, and I'll do the opposite. I like it. So this is super interesting. So Matt says better CI/CD. Not necessarily better CI/CD. So I understand why you said that, because the word pipeline came out, right? We talk about this. This is probably why you're asking better CI/CD. I think that's probably part of the answer. One of my hot takes by the way, I'm an AppSec guy, right? I sold Dast and SAST like as a career. Not sold, I like provided Dast and SAST solutions as a career for like a large portion of my life, right? And one of my hot takes is that secure by default web frameworks coming out did more for application security than any application security vendor, vulnerability scanner, anything WAF ever did, right? Angular and React becoming more popular did more for eliminating classes of vulnerabilities that were in the OWASP top 10 for 15 fucking years than any scanner ever did. We got really good at scanning for cross-site scripting, and it still was everywhere for 20 years. You know how much harder it is to write cross-site scripting in React? You have to write dangerously set inner HTML is the name of the API call. It is so much harder to shoot yourself in the foot as a developer and write insecure code in modern web frameworks than it is in like raw dog PHP or .NET, right? That's what I'm talking about. with this. So yeah, I think like, CI/CD stuff, better CI/CD stuff is definitely part of it. But we had that when we were writing shitty code. All that was, again, faster whack-a-mole. You weren't making it any harder for developers to write insecure code. Okay? That is the goal here. Now, what's the goal? How can we have coding agents that don't shoot themselves in the foot? Because a lot of people are going to be using coding agents now, whether we all like it or not. You could sit here and put your head in the sand and be like, AI's hype and this is all bullshit. But whether we like it or not, the best engineers on the planet are still even like using Claude Code or Codex or whatever now, right? So what is in my life, my version of that was secure web frameworks and then guardrails that you could put. So even with secure web frameworks, there was other vulnerabilities that weren't like cross-site scripting or SQL injection that were still easy to write, right? Things like SSRF was like something that was easy to write even in a modern web framework. So how could you, as a security engineering department, put something out that made it harder to write those vulnerabilities? So now put on the agentic AI hat on, instead of a guardrail, what's your harness? And I'm not even saying vulnerability discovery harness, but if you look at this model, it looks pretty similar to a lot of other things. This is just a vulnerability discovery workflow. So what's your secure code development workflow look like, right? You're probably designing what you're doing and then coding it and then, making sure that you are using all of the security best practices or guardrails or whatever it is. One of the things that I liked to say at my last gig was I wanted to treat the lack of a guardrail as a vulnerability, even if it wasn't an exploitable vulnerability. If you didn't use the right way to do it, which we knew was safe, I was going to consider it a vulnerability, right? And that was like a cultural thing that we had to try to get through. I think you have the same thing here with security harnesses. I don't know. Maybe I'm too harness pilled, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with this. I looked at this is one of the better blog posts I've seen in the year, and not because they're glazing Glasswing or Mythos. I think they're being very real about Mythos's capabilities. I think Mythos's vulnerability identification capabilities are very similar to Opus 4.6, 4.7, and some other tools that aren't even AI related. But where it shines is in chaining, right? Exploit chaining. And so where that shines in your world would be reduction of false positives, because it's not going to be able to produce a valid POC and valid exploit of chaining a bunch of vulns together if those vulns are false positives. So now Cloudflare has like a bar that they're setting for themselves that says, hey, any report that we get from our own shit needs to come with a POC and a fix, right? So they talk about a lot of the lessons learned here, and this is the reason I tend to believe this, and the reason I tend to not think that a lot of this is marketing, okay, is I know people who I've touched in real life. I've shaken their hand. I've bought them a beer. I trust them, who have gotten their hands on this and are telling me the same thing, okay? So I'm not forming my opinion based solely on marketing blogs, first of all. Second of all, the blogs that we're seeing come out of companies that are having success with Mythos in Project Glasswing are saying the same thing, and they don't have the same incentives, right? Let me find, it's in a tab somewhere that's gone. Here. Mozilla's these are security researchers at Mozilla. This is not marketing, okay? This is Mozilla coming out talking about their use of Mythos. And you see the big spike here. Microsoft is king at marketing. You can check CyberGym for the models used in the harness. Yeah, totally. What happened to Git? We talked about that at top of stream. They got hacked. I can bring it back up in a few. If you have any questions about it, you feel free to ask. But or you could find my Twitter thread about it. So Firefox is saying a lot of the same things, right? So they are part of Glasswing. They are using Mythos. You can literally see in their stats, February is when Opus 4.6 and 4.7 came out, right? So already an uptick. And then April is when Mythos and Glasswing happened, right? And the explosion of bugs. But whatever, cool. This chart went viral. The thing that I absolutely love in these posts is they start to talk about the actual harness that they are using to actually get value here. And the thing that they say is they already had a very, very detailed fuzzing protocol and bug identification, validation, and self-reporting system that they just were able to plug Mythos in. So the reason Mozilla was so successful with Mythos was not because Mythos is Mythos, right?
Mythos!
I'm saying it too many times to not hit the soundboard, right? It's not because Mythos is the all-knowing super AI hacker that Firefox is having such success with it, even though it is a very good at finding specifically memory bugs, which are what browsers are known for finding. It's because they already had this hyper mature workflow. This blog is from 2021, bro. This blog is pre-AI being a glimmer in our eye. Mozilla's got a workflow. What does this look a whole lot like, everybody? Doesn't this look very similar? Recon, hunt, validate, dedupe, trace, feedback, report. This is the Mythos AI powered, oh my God, whatever. Here's a blog from 2021. What does it look like? Right? Hunt, triage, dedupe, everything, build instrumentation. Like it's like the same workflow, right? But just based on fuzzing. And so this is my thing. I think that Firefox has been successful because they learned a lot of these same lessons. Let's go back to the Cloudflare blog really quick. The same lessons here. Narrow scope produces better findings. Instead of just saying, hey, go look at this repo, find bugs, saying, look for command injection in this function. Which do you think is going to be more successful? Right? I think any tool is going to have, like AI or not, the more scoped down you can get, the better, right? It's just even more true in AI land because of context models and because these things just go off the fucking rails and it's non-deterministic and it's just going to go off on rabbit chases, right? But if you give it a file and you say, look for this specific type of vulnerability in this file, which is what Mozilla said they did, which is why I'm not thinking that this shit is marketing, right? We have multiple security engineering teams successfully finding bugs that they weren't able to find in their previous processes, finding things, and the successful ones are coming out and saying the same things. They've built a custom harness. The key feature of such a harness, given the right interfaces instructions, it can run reproducible test cases and dynamically test hypotheses about bugs in code, right? And again, they were doing a lot of this pre-Mythos anyway, and Mythos just leveled it the fuck up. At first, we supervised the process terminal to observe the process in real time and tune the prompts and logic. Once this was working well, we parallelized the jobs. Multiple ephemeral VMs, each tasked to hunt for bugs with a specific target file. Right? In their other blog, they have like their red team blog. Anthropic has their red team blog, and they talk about this Firefox use case. And they talk about this, that Firefox gave file by file to Mythos with their harness, and that's when they started to see the real value. And now you got Cloudflare saying the same thing. So I think this is the lesson to be taken away from all this, is if you're not currently building a harness that can break this stuff down, you're not doing it right. You know, I think everyone should be running code through these models, even if you're not coding with agentic agents and you're still handcrafted, you know, weaving your yarn, running it through the models to find issues just makes a whole lot of sense. But instead of just saying, hey, model, go find code, having a harness that does this, right, scopes it and says, hey, your job, what's that Rick and Morty meme? What is the, I don't even know. I've like never actually watched an episode of Rick and Morty. I just know like memes, right? It's like, what is my purpose? You pass butter, right? This is your job. What is your purpose? Your purpose is find command injection in vulnerabilities. You give an agent exactly one job, right? What is your purpose? Your purpose is to pass butter. Your purpose is to find a single type of vulnerability in this file right now, and then that's it. I'm never going to ask you anything ever again. It's cool that Anthropic finally found a use case for Firefox. Man, I was Firefox main for years and years and years and years. A very hacked version of Firefox was my main daily driver forever because I was so anti-Chrome spyware. I miss it. I miss it. I do. Anyway, there you go. That's my soapbox. Sorry, I didn't even take a fucking breath during that. All right, what else we got? You want me to check CyberGym? I can check CyberGym. I've pulled CyberGym up before. Yeah, this is the MDash thing, right? Yeah. I pulled this up when that MDash blog got out, and I was wondering why we weren't seeing some other stuff on here, right? We got Mythos, GPT-5.5. GLM 5.1 is super interesting that that's on here already. What was I... Oh, man, I don't even remember what I expected to see on here and didn't. I forget. What was I expecting to see on here? Best Matt content when his ADHD hits. Dude. Real. It's real. It's real. Though that wasn't too shiny squirrel. That was just pure passion. I am passionate about AppSec, if not anything. OpenAI, it's first time that dropped CyberGym score. Yeah. Never did before. All right. What else we got today? Yo, Portbuster, are you still here? If Portbuster, if you're still here, what was that ZachXBT thing and Ironic? That might be a good way. A good next little segment here. Check out the diagram for harness rules and CI firewall. Did you just tweet me it? Is this what you're talking about? Yeah. What do we got? We got Claude Codex over here, here. All right, rules and skills. Product specification. Don't use bad package PRD. Block, no block. Rules do this. Harness, block, no block. Pre-session hooks. Okay, so Claude Codex. Pre-session hooks. So the user's talking to this. That you also have rules and skills. So you have pre-session hooks. You have rules and skills. And then rules do this. Dev machine. Block, no block. GitHub. Package managers over here. Package CI. Yeah, Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. It's just layers, right? Different places to block and enforce different things. I don't know. I still think that for the average bear, I think this plus the hook saying, hey, Claude, make a hook to enforce this is probably the move, right? I think this is what I'm going to recommend to people. I think. Yeah. All right. Someone, Portbuster in chat said there's some Zach XBT stuff. I've been following a bunch of his bits lately. What I'd miss, GitHub IR, passing along homemade candle making process. But those packages get compromised constantly, so checking against a source of intel. Yeah. I mean, I am kind of putting my eggs in the socket is going to be fastest to find the malware on their basket for sure. They've proven pretty fast so far. I think they caught this most recent one within 6 minutes, right? Looks like the Akaido one and the Datadog one are really popular too. I don't have a reasoned opinion between Socket, Akaido, and Datadog's like free firewall tool. Zach, I don't know if you're here or if you have an opinion between those three either. What'd you miss? GitHub IR. Yeah, if you guys like are coming in because of the title, like we talked about it at the beginning of stream, we could talk about it a little bit more. Not on a technical merit. Yeah, that's where I'm at, right? I'm like on vibes choosing Socket on Twitter, posting Akaido wins. Yeah. It'd be an interesting benchmark, right? How fast do each of them legitimately block the bad things? And not like your other kind of embarrassing tweet of marking the bad thing as safe. I want to see. I stirred the pot in a group chat with your tweet. Let me see. And then I immediately put my phone down and never looked at it again. Oh man. Okay. I just like pulled the pin out of that grenade in there. Brutal. Check out the harness one for Blue Shield. It's open source. Okay, cool. Matt stirring the pot and putting the phone down is like a dev pushing a change on Friday and logging off. Boom. Nuked. Francisco, I have some friends that want to chat about your bootcamp experience with me and you. Would you mind if I DM'd you and maybe set some time up? Haha, someone's on the other side of this one. Zach, no. But I have in a group chat that I'm in with like some CISOs and stuff. One of them is like, one of them I guess is a colleague. Is a colleague of them. And no, they're not. Don't worry, they're not defending. They're not defending. But basically, yeah, one of the co-authors of that Mythos Ready security program thing that he did with them. I'm really good friends with, and we're in a group chat, and I just dropped your tweet in there and ran away. And some of the other CISOs are in there, and we're like, aye. So no one's on the other side of that. Don't worry. They said the same thing that I did, that like, hey, he's doing a lot for the community right now. He's like bringing a lot of people together right now, which is like good. It's a good thing, right? Yeah, got it. Don't worry, I knew I'd be a controversial calling him out by name. Zach shy away from a controversy? Zach shy away from a controversial tweet? Not the Zach I know. What up, Kilobyte? Good to see you. I think a few of you joined late and are asking about the GitHub thing because I probably didn't update my title. All the news stories are just talking about how GitHub confirmed that they are hacked. They lost about 3,800 repositories of their own code out. The thing that the news stories just didn't catch, because I don't think it was public yet, which I found on Twitter, was we figured out the extension, the VS Code extension that the VS Code extension that was the root of the GitHub breach is this one. It's this NX console one. And then if you go to the NX console's security advisory about it, it came out 2 days ago. So they came out and announced that they were pushing a compromised VS Code extension before we knew about the GitHub breach, right? Important timeline, bit of information there. And then they have IOCs in here, which are good, but the rest of it is all just Team PCP MO, right? It's all the same information that they steal every time they get in. And then the thing that I don't see enough people talking about right now is that the root cause of the VS Code extension being hacked looks like, and they're not saying it here, but it looks like it's an NPM worm. It was the NPM worm. One of the developers of the VS Code extension compromised by a recent security incident which leaked their GitHub credentials. Doesn't that sound a whole lot like the NPM worm, right? So I think that this is all a ripple effect of just Team PCP stuff in general, right? They're not saying it here, but it looks like this was NPM worm stuff, right? And then that let them, instead of pushing NPM worm stuff to this repo, they pushed a malicious version of the VS Code extension into this repo, which then furthered their exploits. Yeah. So that's how we all found out about it, was Team PCP listed the GitHub code for sale. Yeah, Python packages. Well, I know I keep saying NPM worm just as a shorthand. You're right. And even Ruby gems. So it's not even just NPM and PyPy. You're right. I should stop shorthanding it to that. Supply chain worm. You are correct. You are correct. So yeah, anyone who was just joining that for my title, there you go. What up, Shy? Kilobyte, I hope you're having a good week. Feel free to send an invite anytime after 2 p.m. PST. Okay, cool. I'll DM you for an email, Francisco. Check the write-up there. Didn't I just have the write-up? Or a different one? Oh, I see. You just tweeted me. Sorry. Who is Phoenix Security? I don't know Phoenix Security. GitHub internal repo. Boop. Oh, this is your write-up. Sorry. I didn't know your company name. Got it. GitHub is not formally named it, but the strongest candidate is this NX one. Yeah. Published to the VS Code Marketplace on May 18th. That's 2 days ago. The extension carries roughly 2.2 million installations. It was live for 11 millions. They say that they have evidence that 6,000 people downloaded it in their Twitter thread. So they said Microsoft indicated that 28 installs of the malicious version. Based on our own analytics, we think that potentially 6,000 installs, even though it was only live for 11 minutes. Which is kind of crazy, right? Yeah, good write-up. Thanks for sharing. Good stuff. Came out after you wrote the article. Yeah, for sure. That's the issue with doing news. I wanted to try to find the XBD, Zach XBT. Yeah, this one. I think Portbuster was talking about this thread, right? This threat actor flexing money. I will not be playing his videos. Just incredibly vulgar. Just, oh my God, the way that this guy talks. It's just atrocious. But anyway, apparently went live and did a band for band, which is apparently just like people bragging about how much money they have in their wallets, which then got them traced, right? So then Zach is obviously got a screen recording of this band for band. He's a former crypto grifter. I didn't know that. I have a good opinion of his investigations and stuff. His wallet received $5.3 million from this theft. By the band for band, 1.6 had already been spent or laundered. So he basically tracks all these like wallet activity. A criminal complaint against this guy was unsealed for his role in the 185 Bitcoin theft. He's facing up to 40 years. Co-conspirator number one is this guy, Dritton. Hasn't been formally charged yet. Ironically, Dritton previously did a band for band with Lick, which led to my January 2026 investigation of a $46 million theft from the U.S. government by John and later his arrest. John posted one of Dritton's old wallet addresses and now deleted Telegram posts in retaliation. Based on my own assessment, the address looked accurate as Dritton moved funds to the same laundering service within minutes of the 185 Bitcoin theft. Dritton lives an extravagant life, regularly posting on Instagram, sharing it with other threat actors. I assisted one of the affected parties for the investigation by uncovering the on-chain activity linked to them, however, held off posting until the charges became public. His friends have kept getting arrested without him. I think this is particularly due to him of being a minor up until recently, and law enforcement just holds off to prosecute minors. He just turned 18, so here you go. What a thread. No, I will not be playing the vids. What's up, Portbuster? I was wondering if you were still here. I will absolutely not be playing these videos on stream. A meme coin KOL is one that makes buy calls to a group of people, usually through a Telegram channel. So, Portbuster, were you saying there's an ironic video about that thread? Nah, just tweets. What he might make. Oh, okay. But didn't that thread feel like an ironic video? Is that what you're saying? If you guys don't know what we're talking about, this ironic channel is actually great on YouTube about going through different cybercrime stuff in this kind of like really good, fast-paced like style. We've watched a bunch of these on stream. Hacking Instagram models to ask them out. What a title that is. This Minecraft kid stole 238 million in Bitcoin. It's insane. These are good videos. These are super good videos. Yeah, it might come up. Yeah, I would be surprised if it didn't, right? Man, this guy has been on a tear lately too. His channel has blown up. He's on a clip too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos this week. I got to talk to him. I wonder if he scripts these because they're tight too. They're pretty funny. He's just also like, why not ride the AI hater train? Do we want to watch any of these? Ex-Google CEO just exposed the whole AI shit show. Is he just talking about the commencement speech? It feels scripted, not a bad thing. I appreciate the refresh. Yeah. It's hard to be that tight without being scripted, right? What up, Roman? Yeah, I'm not saying scripted is bad either. I've been toying with scripting some of my videos and parts of my videos. Generally not a script guy, but I've been trying. All right. What do we think? One video before we sign off? One little react? We could do it. Is there a good one? Let's see. One more react. Let's do it. Someone said CoffeeZilla was talking about Trump Mobile leaking customer info. And I didn't hear about this story from any like cyber news story. I didn't realize other people wrote scripts until like 3 weeks ago and constantly felt bad. Everyone was so much better at speaking flawlessly. Zach, until extremely recently, not a single video I've ever done has had a script. I had a script for that iOS one because it was such a tight partnership with that sponsor. And we've been working on it for months, so I didn't really want to off the cuff that one. So yeah, like usually sponsor work, I'll maybe script a little bit because generally they would like a say in it. But the vast majority of my YouTube videos are not scripted, which again, like you, is probably a bad thing. Thank you. I got a lot of weird comments about that video. I mean, everyone was talking about the background music and shit. We were just trying a new thing. Like my editor, Nord, was just trying, new production styles and, visuals and sounds and stuff. So, we're going to experiment. But yeah, I think that's going to set the bar for me for like those kinds of things from the future. So basically, if a vendor wants to sponsor a video like that, like cool, here's the bar, right? Did you do anything really cool that like I can interview your experts on? Like, because that's way better than just me yapping about stuff. Thanks, Zach. I appreciate you. Yeah, it did better than my average video, but not great. It still has time. YouTube algorithm is weird. Sometimes it'll like chill for a few days. We could pull it up. I don't care about sharing my analytics. So like, yeah, better than my average by a pretty large clip. And no paid reach at all. Sometimes with the sponsored ones, they'll want to throw some money behind it. But this one's pure organic. $40. I think this metric is one of the ones I really got to get up. I think the videos that wind up doing really well are over 10% on this. Like the click for the thumbnail and title. That's the hard one. And yeah, I caught some air on some other sites too, which was cool. Yeah, that click-through rate's rough, right? What's the average CPM for a channel like mine? Is CPM this? Is that what you're talking about? 15. I don't know if that's good or bad. I have no idea. I make like no money from like actual YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I make like tens of dollars from YouTube. So, you know, that's not ever going to be a thing. My sponsors pay well because the value of my audience is high, even if the size of my YouTube audience isn't high. You know what I mean? I've got sponsors that have closed like 6-figure SaaS deals off of a video that got 1,000 views. So when I can point to that, that's better than pointing to a 1 million view video when the 1 million view video could be like teenagers in Myanmar or whatever, right? All right, let's I don't know anything about this one. So let's see.
To let you know that TrumpMobile.com is leaking customer information. And I know that because, sadly, I am one of those customers whose mailing address, email address, everything short of credit card number is being leaked via a security exploit that I'm not going to go into too much detail to explain, but it's not complicated. I mean, exactly how it works was explained to me. I'm not a computer expert, but even I can understand the mechanics of it, meaning it's very low-hanging fruit. Basically, this past weekend, I was reached out to among many other people who have Trump Mobile accounts to let us know that our identification was being served up. This was by somebody who said they had no interest in doxing me, but they just wanted to let me know that this was happening. This person had my order information, my mailing address. They had other people's information as well that they shared with me just to prove it was real. Of course, blurring out the actual address data. From what I can tell, the person who contacted me, they're just interested in getting this fixed. They contacted the Trump Mobile.
I can tell you what the security flaw was just by looking at that and hearing all that. This is just an open API with no authentication that just returned all that information. That's it. It's just someone, there's an API request on that website that you could just hit and it just returns all that shit. That's that.
Team, they didn't respond. After seeing this, I conferred with another famous YouTuber who's also a Trump Mobile, orderer. They were also concerned their information is on there. So we reached out also to the Trump Mobile team thinking maybe, somebody with more kind of reach will hopefully be able to escalate this. We have received no response from the official team. So basically how we feel is there's a public interest in letting people know, do not order on TrumpMobile.com unless you're ready for your information to be leaked. It's basically that bad. And also raises concerns given that Trump Mobile is offering a cellular service. I don't know how much of a view they would have into people's browsing histories, company's call history, location data, but I would assume they keep some of that data. And if that is the case, I'd be very concerned given how much, or should I say, how little protection they give to your basic customer information, which should be obviously like under lock and key. Now, among other things that were discovered while realizing that, my address is out on TrumpMobile.com being served up to anyone who knows this security exploit, we also found out that the real number of customer orders is much lower than we thought previously. It had been reported that 600,000 people ordered the T1 phone. Turns out that number was basically made up from thin air, but actually looking at the customer, unique IDs, it looks like the real number of actual customers on this website was more like roughly 10,000 unique customers with roughly 30,000 unique customer phone orders. I don't know if that also includes Trump Mobile itself as a cellular service plan. I'm not exactly sure, but it looks like about 30,000 different orders went through, much lower than previously reported, about 5% actually of what was previously reported, which might explain why this has been seemingly such a low priority for Eric Trump and the people who are involved in this. It seems like there have been delays, changes, all sorts of stuff. It looks like they're trying to back out of this thing, only to then later say, no, we're actually going to deliver it. At this point, I don't know if it's more just to get this off the legal liability ledger, because it doesn't seem like there's as much interest in this device as was previously reported. And in some ways, it's good because it means the blast radius might be about 10,000 customers, which is still bad, to be clear, but much lower than was previously thought. So I just wanted to let people know, as one of the people affected, this sucks. I wanted to get it fixed before going public about this, and now it looks like, unfortunately, we just have to report on this. If you're someone from the Trump Mobile team and you're wondering how this exploit...
So hey, we were, us in the security community, wearing a bit of egg on our face here because this is how I found out about this. I didn't even see the YouTube videos. I saw my buddy Evan say, why did I learn about the Trump phone security breach from freaking Penguin, who watched Coffee? Security media is lacking. So what did I say? I am ashamed. I guess that's me. I'm security media, right? Anyway, that wasn't that fascinating of a thing. Leaky API. What's Prime's video? Oh yeah. Let's watch this. Prime keeps talking about security. Prime, you're too much better of a YouTuber than me to start making more security content than dev content. You're way too good to turn into a full-time security channel. Please. I have a family to feed. I'm just kidding. He can do this, but Prime's really good. All right, let's watch this.
Tweet from last December when Next.js said, hey, everybody, you better upgrade. If you don't, well, there's kind of a remote code execution on pretty much every version of Next.js. So, hey, but server components are really cool, though. And of course, everybody upgraded only to be met yet again just a couple days ago. Hey, guess what, everybody? You better upgrade because... well, if you don't upgrade, you will simply have a denial of service, a middleware proxy bypass, another middleware proxy bypass, another denial of service, another middleware proxy bypass, a server-side request forgery, a middleware proxy bypass, a cross-site scripting, a second cross-site scripting, a denial of service, a cache poisoning, a second cache poisoning, or potentially a fifth middleware proxy bypass. Hey, you know what I'm talking about? AI, man. Isn't AI pretty sweet? Look at that. That's AI, bro. That's what we're getting out of this. Hey, honestly, React's more secure now. You just got to upgrade. Either way, I'd like to call myself a bit of a Nostradamus. As a person who's written a data fetching library, let me just tell you, it's really easy to screw it up. Now, obviously, the forced upgrades will continue.
What did he say in 2022?
As a person...
just wait until we all discover how bad server components are. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're about to see all the problems with Falcor, a data of fetching library that I wrote once.
Who's written a data fetching library, let me just tell you, it's really easy to screw it up. Now, obviously, the forced upgrades will continue until morale improves, or you finally switch over to using HTMX, which, by the way, the Lord's library, and it works really well with AI. So
this is how I feel about the supply chain stuff. The supply chain worm will continue until morale improves.
Here, I'm just throwing that out there, okay? Now, obviously, there's quite a few vulnerabilities here, so we are going to take apart the very tippity top one, the highest one, which is actually a bug that's within React. But before we do that, we got to get the bag. Hey, is that HTML? Now, there's no information on the actual exploits, at least given out publicly officially, but there is this beautiful slop repository in which has reproduction steps for pretty much every single one of them all listed.
I've not heard that term yet. Mythos. Out here creating slop repositories full of vulnerabilities. Must be Mythos. Must have escaped the lab. Oh my God, the AI super hacker is out here.
listed out nicely. Now, we're going to go to the very tippity top one that I showed you before, and it gives you this beautiful piece of code right here. And if you jump into the YAML, you can actually read what it's about. It's just taken straight from the actual CVE website, which is going to say this. Next.js app router consumes React decode reply action bundled from React server DOM webpack to parse React server components replies, server action bodies. Pre-patch React walk the reply graph during model resolution without any depth, cycle, or row count limit. An unauthenticated attacker can post a cyclic/deeply nested form encoded reply body to an app router page with the next action header and force the server to spin CPU/Stack Overflow for tens of seconds per request. In other words, you're effectively doing a DOS. You're denying the server's ability to process any other request, because remember, JavaScript. Yo, it's single-threaded, pretty much. As this thing just spins and does nothing, your CPU's pegged, and you have pretty much no insights as to what's happening, and you can even get a Stack Overflow if you provide enough of these encoded items. So what are these encoded items? Remember I said it was a slotpository? Well, here's part of the example of the slotpository. Inside of this beautiful bash file, we also have some...
Have you guys heard that? Oh my God. Slotpository. Oh, gosh. I had not heard that before. It's so great.
Beautiful Python going on right here. I mean, nothing tells me that an AI has written something than code that looks like this. This is what makes AI happy, okay? If AI has the ability to be in Bash, piping out to Python, I mean, it is one half.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize what he was talking about. Do you guys see that? It's literally piping out to Python in a Bash script. You see the commands around it, and then there's like random code.
Happy Mythos. Honestly, kind of making Dario proud right now. And so then it produces this value right here over and over again, and it does this whole next thing right here. So it says, hey, all right, I'm going to create a $F with a value in hexadecimal, and I'm then going to create an object that references this next value also in hexadecimal. Now you're probably thinking, okay, I don't even have any idea what that means. Well, that's not a big deal, because guess what? This isn't our first time inside this code. So if you go over to this parse model string function, it actually is doing the parsing. Now remember, in regular user land, typically people from websites send up JSON. Oh, no, not in React land. See, in React land, you have your client, right? Big old C client here. Let me increase the size. Oh, wow. And I went down in size. Oh my gosh, embarrassing. Can I say that? Embarrassing? Okay, a little too big, but whatever. Your client and your server communicate back and forth. Now, typically in your normal world, probably...
Guys, in order to be a better YouTuber, do I need to start drawing on screen? Seems like all the good YouTubers draw on screen. I do. Yes. Okay. I tried it early in my YouTube career. If you go watch some of my early YouTube videos, I was like doing it on an iPad. No, it's like you got to like make a green screen like thing on an iPad in OBS and like whatever in MS Paint. I was just like Apple Pencil on a blank iPad, and it would just like draw on my screen around my face. But then I stopped doing it because, and this is embarrassing, I was using my iPad as my second monitor. My old YouTube studio, before everything you see here today, you don't see it, but like was my laptop and a webcam, and then I had my iPad sitting over here as like a second monitor, because I like shared a desk with some people, and I would just kick them out when I had to film, and I had a USB Blue Yeti microphone or whatever. Okay. And I'd have to choose, do I want to draw on screen for this video, or do I want a second monitor? And now, ladies germs, I have monitors. I have real monitors now. Do it with a spirograph. Should I spin art? Should I spin art about vulnerabilities? Listen, we're in the big leagues. We're in the big leagues. I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring my iPad back. I have it. I have my iPad. It's sitting in my backpack right now. I lost my Apple Pencil, though. That's the tricky part with Apple Pencils. They just kind of fall right off. Instead of making stuff after editing, you just say what you have to say. You're like, let me draw this up. Another 20 seconds each time. Zach, you've been studying the game, man. You're a student of the game, Zach. iPad maxing? Oh, no. All right. I have like, you guys want like a little teaser? Brian, should I tease them the news as of this morning? You need the voiceover while you work on a pottery wheel? Like from Ghost? Oh my gosh. You guys are right. Theo does like 40. That's true. Brian, should I tease the news? So maybe starting a podcast. This is the teaser, okay? Maybe starting a podcast with another much more well-known YouTuber than myself. And we were literally just talking this morning about it, and we were laughing about exactly what we're talking about right now. And we were talking about how a lot of this stuff is meant to be like clippable and consumed in clips. And I was like, oh yeah, I like don't even really watch like Theo's podcast. I don't watch Theo's podcast, but I catch clips, or, you know, the stand-up. I watch like the clips out of the stand-up more than I watch the stand-up, right? And there's like a bunch of comedy podcasts and stuff like this, right? And we were both said like, we don't know why like we know anything about Clavicular. We're like, who the hell is Clavicular and why do we know anything about him? And it's like, oh, it's because like the clip algorithm is forced upon us. So anyway, we have to like reverse engineer when we start our podcast. We're like, how do we inception everybody like Clavicular has? So like, they don't even know that they know about us, but they know about us. All right, drawing on the screen, step number 1.
Well, yeah, your normal job, you're using JSON. So you can just call like JSON.parse. Better wrap a little try catch around that or else your server explodes, but you get the idea. Pretty straightforward. Your client does the exact same thing, but not in React Server Components land. The special meanings almost always start off as a string. It starts off as a string with a $sign. From there, it has some sort of control character like, hey, what kind of action are you after?
Polymarket hits on Matt saying Clavicular on his stream. Man, I got to get in on this insider training of words that Matt says on stream.
Actually asking me to perform. If I remember correctly, it's actually this code right here, a subclass B for blob. This is actually how the previous one had remote code execution, is by calling this function right here, which ended up returning a function in which was actually specified as part of the input and being stringified as a function into an actual JavaScript function, which allowed the user just to say, hey, here's what I want you to execute. I control the string and you turn it into JavaScript for me, and I can do whatever I want on your machine. It was not good at all. But this time, it's an uppercase F. Again, jump right here. You can see the uppercase F. So it's setting something up. And what this does is this says, hey, I have a reference. You are referring to some object somewhere on the server, so I'm going to decode it for you. And so it does this get outlined model call right here. Well, outline model will simply go off and do the hydration, do whatever it needs to do, except if this model has already been resolved once before. Now, this is where this beautiful loop comes in right here, because if you look at this, who am I referring to? I'm going to refer to the next one in line, unless if we've gone all the way around, then I'm going to make a nice little ring right here, so that way the last element refers to the first element. So when we get here and we've already initialized the model, it's going to call this, hey, we need to initialize this chunk specifically so it actually points to the correct object. Now, inside of initialize model chunk, what it's doing is going to revive the model. I assume this is like the hydration process, like, hey, here's all the stuff that exists on the server, so go off and do it. Now, when you're reviving the model, if the value I passed into you was a string, oh my gosh, it's a string. So it's going to go here and recall parse model. So you can kind of guess what happens here. We parse model to get outline model to initialize model chunk to revive model to parse model string. And we're just going to keep on doing this nice little...
All right, good. He's still a developer YouTuber, everybody. Guys, this is great news for the channel. This is still a dev video. This isn't a security video. Whew. Gosh. No, sorry. Security creators, we can't talk like this. We can't go into this. Okay.
Circle as much as we can until bad things happen. In fact, it only takes 53,000 times around this loop for my stack to be exceeded. I bet your servers probably are some cheap EC2 instances or something, and they probably don't get nearly as deep with the stack. Wow. Now, the crazy part about this is that the user doesn't even need to be authenticated. They just simply need access to this payload, and you need to be on an old enough version of React, and so therefore they can just send you this message, and boom, your computer, that one message means your server up in the clouds completely off. It's going to crash the process, but before it crashes the process, it's going to take hundreds of milliseconds, if not longer, to process through everything first. You see, back in my day, React used to just be a view library. In fact, way back in the day, it used to say, hey, we're the V and Model View Controller, MVC. Now, I know those days are those are the bygone days of yore at this point. Effectively, React/Next.js just does everything. I just have a question, okay? Honestly, I don't really understand the entire appeal of server-side components to begin with, right? Your client goes over here, it makes a request, and all of this is to prevent yourself from having the N+1 query problem, and you can also get some kind of cool page dynamic caching because the first moment you hit a suspense, like, component, oh my gosh, look at that line. That was a perfect line. Once you hit that first suspense, whatever the initial HTML that comes across the wire, that thing can be cached by a CDN, and then all the follow-up stuff is only user-specific data. Like, is that the entire reason why people use React Server Components? Am I crazy? This is a lot of engineering just to avoid you thinking about how to load your data. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I feel like you could just do this instead. You know, you could just load the data you need. I know, novel concept. All right, well, looks like that's it. I just kind of wanted to yap about this for a little bit because I thought this was pretty interesting. There's also one with cross-site scripting and how it does dangerously skip HTML, which is very funny, by the way. It's super funny to see React.
What did I tell you? Right? Cross-site scripting, you have to write dangerously set inner HTML.
the library in which you're not supposed to have to think about HTML and being able to do, or like removing any of the escaped characters or anything like that. You don't have to think about any of that. Instead, you just hand it to React and it renders it correctly. And it just turns out you can't hand everything to React because some of the items underneath the hood, well, they're actually using set HTML dangerously and they weren't properly escaping things.
Yeah.
Very, very hilarious. Anyways, so if you're using React, you better upgrade, because even if you're not using Next.js, you still got that problem I just showed you right there. That's pretty serious, huh? Can I tell you like a little story that I'm a little ashamed of? In 2016, when Netflix was flirting with React and putting it on the television, I was a part of the initial performance side of things. And when comparing a very skinny app that has virtually no features to an app that's completely filled with features and has a decade of legacy code, this may surprise you, but the skinny one was faster. And so people kept pushing it, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, during my dark days, right before I became jaded, but I thought React was really great in 2016, and then I used it a whole bunch, and then I saw what happened, and then I stopped liking React after that. I can't help it.
Yeah. I mean, this is everything, right? Like we went through a thread about this with Kubernetes too, right? It's like, oh man, it's like super fucking complicated, it turns out. But it is magic when it's magic. All right, you know how he has a button that he hits when he talks about old guy shit, and he's all of a sudden the old guy that yells at cloud? I think I'm going to make this version, okay? I'm just going to straight rip him off. And I'm going to make this version where I'm going to float my little head. Okay, I'm going to be like, here, okay? I'm going to make an OBS of me up in there. Come on, Grandma, let's get you home. We used to write code by hand. Mythos? What's a Mythos? I'll Kuber your netties. I don't know. I'm gonna make my version of that, because I also am certified Unc, and you guys make fun of me a lot for shit I talk about from, basically the 1900s, and so I think I need a bit of an Unc meme as well. Unc, that's what I'm gonna name it. When I make that screen in OBS, I'm gonna name it Unc screen. QBasic was your first language. Visual Basic was my first language. Which is first? When it was QBasic or Visual Basic? QBasic. Oh, 1991. On MS-DOS. Visual Basic was the successor to Quick Basic. Okay. 1991. Yeah, I wrote my first code, like legitimate code, in 9th grade around that time. Which was in some year. Yeah. The Twin Towers were still around. We'll go with that. You're young. Well, I've been accused of a lot of things. Being young is generally not one of them. MS-DOS and Apple II in the garage. Lunchtime. Man, I am feeling like I went and got that protein shake and that banana because I thought that that's what it was. I keep getting waves of I'm going to pass the fuck out. So I think I'm going to go home. Is what I think I'm going to do. But I really need, my team is yelling at me to record shit. And Brian is sitting in chat right now. So Brian's going to be like, go fucking record shit, Matt. Because I'm behind on at least one video. I should record something. What YouTube video should I make right now? I'm going to bang it out before I leave. We're going to do it. I'm going to muscle through it. I can make it live. You guys want to stay on stream and I'll make one? I got to make something. Should I make CISA leaked videos, leaked keys for Glove Cloud? That was a really good short. Should I make this whole GitHub thing being the next wave of NPM? Should I do both? I should probably do fucking both, shouldn't I? I should probably do GitHub and CISA, huh? The problem is I have an editor now who is not going to get this shit out today, right? Because he's like a good editor. I'm a bad editor, so I put shit out the same day because it's bad. He's a good editor. Turns out that takes time. Problem is these are both kind of like news. GovCloud thing, GitHub hacked. So yeah, I got to make both, right? Okay, we're going to make both. You guys aren't going anywhere. We're going to do it live. All right, fuck it. We'll do it live. Sorry, I got to hide chat then. And browser. And I got to hide chat. Okay. All right. We're going to do it live.
Mythos!
You called for it. All right. Well, I don't have to hide chat until I'm like ready to go, right? So you guys can hang in and talk to each other. Oh no, I'm live on LinkedIn and Twitter right now too. I don't know if anyone's watching those things. But that's like a very different vibe to stay live on those channels while recording a video. Can I turn those off without stopping stream? Let's try it. Boop. Boop. I can. I just went off on LinkedIn and Twitter. All right, now it's just us. All right, it's just us, everybody. Whew. Bye-bye, Twitter and LinkedIn. Sorry, I didn't say bye. I don't think anyone's fucking watching on those things anyway. What did I get on Twitter? Like 400 views on Twitter while I was live. All right. LinkedIn and Twitter, I don't know why. I just decided I was going to start flipping those switches and go live over there anyway, but we're over 2 hour mark. Hey, Bill, if you're doing if you're doing your thing, turn it off here. I don't know if you could do that, Bill. Bill was yelling at me yesterday for, I had like some 4 or 5 hour streams and Bill was like, bro, trying to transcribe those is not fun. All right, GitHub hack. Let's do GitHub hack first because I know about it. All right, we got this. We got this. We don't have that. We don't have that. Don't have that. Where's this thing? Here's this thing. Okay, it's really just these 3. Screens is all I really need, right? All right. This is all I need. All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Bill. Chat wants me to do it live. I'm going to do it live. All right, let's turn off. I haven't recorded a YouTube video live on stream in weeks. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do with my hands? What do I do with my hands? I would go get some more coffee if I wasn't feeling like I was going to pass the fuck out. Something's up. Something's up. But we're going to bang it out. I got to do this and a short for Vanta. All right. Go in focus mode. Go in focus mode so notifications don't fuck me up. Let's go ahead and quit Slack. All right. Let me just tell the team. All right. All right. All right. I feel like I'm going to pass out often, so you feel you. I don't. Random lightheadedness, not a good sign, right? I'm sure I'm healthy as hell. All right, sorry. Just like letting the team know that I'm filming some shit. Making sure that nothing's going to blow up on me. Oh man, we had a massive storm last night in Austin, and I'm seeing like damage stuff come up. All right. I forgot my daily peptide. I don't take fucking peptides. Maybe I should. Maybe that's the fucking problem. Maybe I'm not on enough like old guy drugs. I have lost a ton of weight at least recently. And so I like just don't eat as much. And so I thought that's what it was. I was like, okay, I just fucking haven't eaten anything. So that's why I'm feeling shitty. You just started peptiding? Which peptides are you on, Francisco? If that's like, is this a HIPAA violation? You don't have to fucking answer this question. you know, just fucking ignore me. Crying tides. Roman, you're too young, right? The young kids aren't taking peptides, are they? You need to ask your wife, she's in charge. Dude, don't wind up in a documentary that you're like catching fucking, your wife is just injecting random shit in you. I need more burritos. Yo, you just picked my lunch. I'm going to get a burrito. I'm going to go to Cabo Bob's and get a burrito bowl. They are for sure. Yeah, I'm going to do a burrito bowl for sure. You kind of miss Austin sometimes, but you don't want to visit during the summer. Dude, knock on fucking wood. We have not gotten hot yet. This is well past when we got hot for the last few years. So like we've had a lot of rain. I'm taking it. You should visit during the summer. It's crazy, but like the trick is everyone just goes in the water. So no one works, right? You don't work. What is job? Avoiding Texas summer is a good idea. Yeah, yes. Okay, listen, I'm not like a Texas like cheerleader, okay? But Austin's a fucking cool ass city. And cool ass cities are still cool in the summer. And it just so happens that like we have tons of really fucking beautiful like public pools and springs and swimming holes and all this kind of stuff. So it's just like, don't go outside if you're not swimming is like what I tell everybody. It does suck though, because I really like rucking and cycling and stuff. I like doing cardio outside. I fucking hate the treadmill or like a stationary bike or like a rower. It's just like, I'm so bored, right? So I like to just like put on a weighted backpack and like walk. And oh my God, it's a completely different exercise when it's 98 degrees outside and the sun is beating on you. It's like, oh, this is like a nice, normal walk. And then you put the weighted backpack on. You're like, oh, it's like a zone 2 cardio thing, right? My heart rate is like 125. Like, cool, because I put the backpack on. And then it's fucking summer and your heart rate is like 150 and you're doing the same walk. And you're like, oh my God, this is no longer like a casual zone 2 workout. This is like life or death. All right, I'm banging this video out. Let's do it. What's the hook? I don't know. I'm just going to start recording because I'm overthinking it. I'm not going to script this. We're going to roll with it. Okay, hold on. I am overthinking it. What other things? So GitHub's hacked is just the latest of Shai Hulud hacks, right? So let's bring up like Socket's blog. Right? Whoop. Typo. That could have been worse. Whoa. Did they just launch a new fucking website? Oh my God, they launched a new website literally since yesterday. because they raised all this new money. Okay. Mini Shahilud. Okay. You're fresher in CS. What should be on the roadmap? What's up, Rohit? Rohit, we're about to record a YouTube video. I don't really have like career Q&A time on me. Thank you for visiting stream. I would be happy to answer your questions when I'm not about to record a YouTube video because as Francisco just said, I get squirreled. Listen to anything that Beacon Cow says when it talks to new career. He's killing it in the new career game. By the way, Roman, any news on your interview? God, I'm so ADD. Microsoft says use our AI to secure your network, but they can't secure themselves. Oof, Brandon. Oof. 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 All right, you guys have fun talking about career stuff. I need to keep you off screen. And then, okay. Any other write-ups that I should bring up in this video about Shahilud? Or is this socket one probably pretty good? This is probably pretty good, right? Okay, so what's the order of operations? We're going to do this. Okay, got it. What's the hook? All right, we're going to stop overthinking it and just record. How's my mic? My God. This one time I recorded like a 45-minute session and my mic wasn't working. They snubbed and did you dirty? I have a job rec cooking for more money in my current internship. We'll be converting this summer. That's cool. What do you mean they did you dirty? They didn't offer you the job or they lowballed you or some bullshit? What's the hook here? I think Shahilud is too niche of a term, right? You want the hook to be like normies. Oh yeah, here's like another funny part here, right? Is like, guess who owns NPM, everybody, right? Okay, basically hyped me up. At the very end, decided to go with another. Oh, dude, it's the fucking worst. After that many interviews that you went through, it's fucking worse. DM me who this is because they're on my shit list now that they fucked with you. It sucks. All right. Wait. Full new swag in the vid. Pull the shirt off my shoulders here a little bit. All right. Boom. Look at that. I'm like wearing it all unnaturally now because I want to show it on screen. All right. We're good, right? Let's do it. We're going to record. Something's got to give with this supply chain malware. The latest victim, as of this morning, is actually GitHub themselves. Which is ironic. Whoops. Where is that? There. Shit. this one? Okay. Which is ironic because GitHub actually owns NPM, and both of these are at the heart of some of the biggest malware campaigns that we've seen in years that just show no signs of stopping whatsoever. So what do we know about this GitHub breach? First of all, we saw that the threat actors, Team PCP, which are behind the NPM, PyPy worms that we are just chasing right now, the latest version of which is called Mini Shai-Hulud. Shai-Hulud, the worm from Dune. This mini one, because when it first started, it was smaller than the first iteration of this worm. It's hard to still continue to call this Mini Shai-Hulud, by the way. And the threat actors put up on some breach forums that all of GitHub.com's source code was for sale. They were saying they would take about $50,000 for around 4,000 repos of GitHub's code. This was the first that we all saw of this potential hack. And then GitHub came out on Twitter and said, yes, we're aware of the claims and we are investigating. Well, that was a few hours ago, and then they came out and said, yep, confirmed, we can say that we have been breached. They said the more accurate number of repos is around 3,800. And they said the root cause was that one of their employees downloaded a poisoned VS Code extension. If you are a member of my channel, this will not surprise you. I just can't stop making videos, A, about these NPM worms, but B, about the exact playbook that they constantly use to get into it, one of which is about malicious extensions. We saw Vercel get breached not too long ago because one of their employees downloaded a Chrome extension that wound up being malicious. Between browser extensions and IDE extensions, threat actors have your number. They can get code on your machine. So there's kind of a few ways that extensions wind up being bad and malware, right? A, you download just a malicious extension that really has no other purpose but to be malicious, and you're tricked into it somehow. This is what we currently see going on a lot in job interviews. You're in a job interview and they say, hey, we need you to download this IDE extension in order to proceed with the coding part of the exam. And that's actually just malware. And because you're in an interview, you'll do anything they say. These things are targeting specifically the cryptocurrency world, and the extensions that they get you to install are very related to Ethereum and stuff like that. One of the other major ways is the otherwise legitimate extension turning malicious. And there's a few ways that that can happen. One, these extensions go up for sale, right? The developer's trying to make a buck and exit the game. They put them up for sale. The threat actor acquires the extension, and they're just buying access to your machine at that point if you are a user of that extension. Sometimes this is on the order of magnitude of hundreds of dollars, right? So this is very, very cheap, broad access to a lot of people. But that's not what happened this time. What happened this time is, well, in the official news coming out from GitHub or any of the news sites, they haven't named the extension, but we think the highest likelihood of the root cause extension is this NX console one. And Jeff here is the from the team that puts out NX console and NX dev tools. And they said that they're talking with Microsoft, who, by the way, owns GitHub, who, by the way, owns NPM. And Microsoft said that they have evidence of 28 installs of this malicious version 18.95 of NX console. The developers of NX console say that they think that there's over 6,000 installs of that malicious version. The malicious version was only up for about 11 minutes based on the timeline, but it has that many users that in that 11 minutes, they have evidence that 6,000 people downloaded the malicious version. If we go to their GitHub repo and their security advisory, this was actually 2 days ago. So meaning 2 days before we all knew about GitHub being hacked. The actual root cause extension came out and said, hey, by the way, we're compromised. Do not use this version of our software. But then here's where just the irony gets thicker and thicker and thicker. This is just like a really good security advisory. I'll put it in the description down below because they've got the indicators of compromise, like this kitty cat payload here. But if we go all the way down to the root cause, what does this look like? One of our developers were compromised by a recent security incident which leaked their GitHub credentials. So what happened? A developer of this extension had their GitHub account hacked. What does that sound like? Sounds to me, and it's the same threat actor as Team PCP, sounds to me like Team PCP's NPM worms, which, by the way, if you look at all the stuff that the NPM worm steals besides propagating itself, here's the list of secrets that Shai-Hulud or Mini Shai-Hulud or Team PCP are stealing in basically every attack and every compromise that happens. Right at the top of the list, GitHub tokens are one of the things they're after. Why? Because they can use the GitHub tokens to propagate to additional repositories. This is what's making it a worm. But the entire time that they've been worming, sorry, I accidentally scrolled there. The entire time that they've been worming, they haven't actually used, that we've seen public evidence of, all of these other secrets that they're stealing in every compromised machine. There's a few things that are kind of keeping me up at night with this attack right now. Number one, they're like worming through stuff, but currently the only people that really need to worry about TPCP, Shai-Hulud, Mini Shai-Hulud, whatever, are developers, because that's where the worm is going. You're installing an NPM package. That's what gets the malware on your machine. Normal people aren't installing NPM packages. Developers install NPM packages. But there's nothing technologically stopping Team PCP from using their access to, instead of just propagating their worm into another GitHub repo, those GitHub repos are code on applications that normal users are using. So why couldn't they also then inject malware into a web app that is using this NPM package? And instead of just stealing the developer of that NPM, or the developer that downloads that NPM package's secrets, they're propagating into web apps that have that code running on them, and then can start stealing sessions or data from actual users. Number one, we haven't seen a lot of that. Number two, this GitHub hack is actually a ripple effect that we haven't seen them do yet. They basically used the GitHub token of one of their victim accounts. They realized that that account actually gave them access to not just NPM packages, but also a VS Code extension developer once they realized what they had. And then they pushed their malware into that VS Code extension, which then got them into a developer at GitHub's account and were able to steal a bunch of the repos. We also don't know if there was 6,000 other people downloaded this, as per the author of this extension. It's a very low likelihood that GitHub is going to be the only victim. Team PCP has publicly come out, and they even briefly open sourced their Shai-Hulud source code. And in the README, they actually said, hey, yeah, this is vibe coded. So they've come out and said that they are using AI to write their malware, write their worms. So that would also lead you to believe that they're probably using some AI-powered tools to do their data exfiltration and other tradecraft to move as quickly as they're able to move, if they only have access for maybe minutes to hours. Because they only have access, meaning to an NPM package that they've published, on the order of minutes right now, right? We're all on such high alert on NPM or PyPy or Ruby gems. They're so active, we're all on such high alert that any malware that hits these repos is found within minutes to hours at this point. And then it's what's the speed of GitHub and NPM actually taking that stuff down so more people don't download it. That's one level of how long they have access. The second level is anyone who downloaded it, right? So that VS Code extension was only up for 11 minutes. But a developer at GitHub pulled that down within that 11 minutes. How long was GitHub compromised before they realized that let the threat actor actually exfiltrate those 3,800 repos? And who else? Who knows what else they could have done? Like, they had malware on that machine via that IDE extension. There's nothing stopping them from just accessing source code from there. Malware is malware. They could have done a lot more damage, and to not just GitHub. So again, we've been hearing a lot about the NPM and PyPy worms. We haven't heard a lot about ripple effects. I think this is one of the first ripple effects, and I think that this is much less severe than it could have been. $50,000 up for sale for some source code. It's a bad day for GitHub. I've been there. When source code goes out the door, you have days of rotating secrets. You have your job at GitHub right now, right? It's been like 12 hours since they even found out about this breach. Their job is to make that source code as not valuable as possible. So all of the secret sauce or environment variables or anything else that could be useful in that source code, they are currently, I know for a fact, sitting in a war room trying to unpeel, right? Let's figure out what we need to rotate. What do we need to rewrite so it doesn't work like this anymore? What kind of vulnerabilities have we not patched because maybe low likelihood of exploitation, but now the likelihood is just shot through the roof if people could just see that that vulnerability exists in source code? And there's other information besides code that people store in repositories. Lots of architecture documents. I know a lot of companies build a lot of their technical infrastructure around GitHub. So there could be entire wikis and repos filled with just sensitive documents about GitHub's inner workings that have nothing to do with source code or secrets or API keys or anything else that might be kicking around in there. So I could have literally made a video pretty much every other day for the last couple of weeks about these NPM worms. I've already made like 3 videos on this channel about various NPM worms. I think this tipped into the different enough category to start talking about the ripple effects here. But there's 2 other things I want to show before I sign off about what you guys need to actually be doing about it to protect yourself. Number one, and I've put this in a video before, but Wiz, this is not sponsored. Rami is just a legend. Shay, I don't know you, but Rami is just great blog about how to harden your GitHub Actions workflow. This is one of the ways that these threat actors are getting initial access into various GitHub repos in order to propagate their malware. This was one of the initial attack vectors for this Trivy and Axios malware campaigns. I think Trivy was actually the initial access, and then Axios used Trivy. And I mean, we're still literally right now dealing with the ripple effects of these attacks that started with an attack on this GitHub Action stuff. There are tons of hardening things in this guide, and they have tons of stats of Wiz customers and just like other stuff about code security, about how at best 20% of repos they see are setting the right secure permissions. Like 80% of repos that they study have way too broad permissions that would allow these types of attacks. Once the attacker actually can get a foothold in, these bad permissions are what lets the blast radius actually happen. Like all actions permitted on all repos. 80% of repos have all actions on all repos. We should be much closer to local only action, like specific actions permitted on specific repos. Literally 0%. Certain actions permitted on all repos, 0.2%. That's not even the best. Selected actions on selected repos, 1%. So like at best, 20% of people doing things better, but really you're looking in this 0 to 1% range is like where they are like pointing people to go. So go through this guide. We're not going to go through this whole guide. Maybe this deserves a whole nother video, how to protect yourself against Shai-Hulud. This probably deserves a whole nother video, but I'll put this guide in the description. This is if you're like an org running a GitHub org. The other thing that I would point you to, if you're just a developer, or maybe you're just even someone using the new agentic coding tools, you're a citizen coder, right? You don't really know how to code, but you're using coding AI tools like Claude Code or Codex or Gemini or whatever it is. What is to stop you from accidentally pulling one of these malicious packages? I put a thread on Twitter. I'll also put this in the description below. The thread has some good tips in it. It also has some fire memes in it. But there are a few people that are putting out free, you can call them firewalls, for different supply chain packages that are keeping the malicious packages out. Basically, within minutes to hours of us knowing about malicious extensions, these tools will make sure that your package managers don't pull them. It looks like Datadog has a pretty popular one. Akaido has a pretty popular one. And then this thread actually talks about Socket Security, puts out it's called SFW Socket Firewall. It looks like you can just install it pretty easily like this. And then my question to Socket was, great, you could install this, but then how do you make your AI agent actually enforced to use it? And it looked like you could even alias, right? You could just alias PNPM or NPM to use, and pip to use SFW or any of the other free open source firewalls that are in this thread. And then if you want to take it a step further, it looked like a popular recommendation in this thread was to use hooks. This is like things that are built into all the major coding agents now. You could say there's like these pre-hooks, and you can enforce your coding agents to actually use PNPM or SFW or Akaido or Datadog instead of just, the raw NPM install stuff. I officially put this supply chain stuff up. I've been saying like everyone's top priority is help desk phishing, voice phishing, SMS phishing. If you don't have an answer for what the big cyber criminal groups like Scattered Spider, Lapsus, Shiny Hunters are doing, go look at their playbook. They're telegraphing their playbook. They're screaming it from the rooftops what they do to hack companies. I've been saying forever, that's priority number one. If you don't have that solved, literally nothing else matters. They're bypassing EDR. They're bypassing 2FA. They're just calling your help desk, getting all these things reset, going around them, and doing whatever they want to do. I'd say this is inching into tied for first place priority in terms of understanding how your software supply chain and your dependency management is not pulling down malware. It literally took GitHub one developer, had an extension that probably was on auto update that pulled down a malicious version. That developer didn't do anything wrong. Had an extension installed in their IDE in VS Code that was on auto update, because in those 11 minutes, there's no way that the developer pulled that stuff down manually. Auto update on a legitimate extension, GitHub's hacked. If this doesn't mean that this should inch its way to the top priority of your list, your IDE extensions, browser extensions, NPM packages, PyPy packages, Ruby gems, your supply chain in and around your code, the threat actors are screaming that this is what they're targeting right now. Get on it. If this was helpful, please do all the YouTube things down below. It means a lot to me. And follow for more cybersecurity news. All right. We did it. We did it. You could tell it's not scripted because it was bad. No, I'm just kidding. It was probably pretty useful, but not tight. Let's get that up in G Drive so my editor has it. And then we'll do the CISA one. The CISA one's just going to be a rant. Yo, I have too many Google accounts, and I signed in this time that I was on my computer. I signed in with the wrong Google account first for my G Drive stuff. And it's just been such a pain in the ass since. Raw YouTube files. Let's get this up. New folder. All right. Boom. All right. You thought it sounded great? Thanks, Roman. Gee Willikers. You can't even tell I'm almost passing out? Do you have to do surprise shots for your thumbnails for your editors? No, I haven't done meme ones. I kind of like, he's got like a clip of me. I think it was like natural in a video. I think I just like went like this and he's been using that. I don't know, man. We are not good at thumbnails. You saw my click-through percentage in my metrics, right? Not great. Not great. I got to figure out my thumbnail game better. All right. Is anyone yelling at me? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. I'm just telling my team to stop yelling at me. I'm recording. Everyone chill. Everyone take a breath. Matt's recording. It's a good week when Matt records. All right. Look at this. I did a live stream and I'm going to record 2 videos and we're going to stop in under probably 3.5 hours. That's great. All right. Sissa. Let's do it. This sucker. I have things to say. Did you guys see the short on this? I kind of went a little spicy, which I think is why it's doing so well. I was like, the flaming corpse of the cybersecurity industry is how I started the video. Oh shit. It's doing really well on Instagram. I haven't even opened Instagram in hours. TikTok's been a little bitch for me lately. Yeah, what the fuck? Yo, like, so metrics, like for short form video on TikTok, all the metrics on this scream that this thing should be going gangbusters, right? So for you non-content creators, here's like the metrics that matter. So the amount of likes you get to views, like the percentage of likes to views, if it's over 10%, so currently it has 6,500 views and 682 likes. That's over 10%. It would need 650 likes. So that's like an incredible good signal. Basically, if like it gets views and people aren't engaging with it, it's like they're scrolling past it, right? Then the other thing, it's a long video. It's like 2.5 minutes long. It's like that's way longer than like the 1 minute like that they like to, publish. 15% of people watch the whole video. That's huge. That's huge for a long video. Huge. I don't understand why this hasn't hockey sticked on TikTok. I do not understand. Those metrics scream like this shit's gonna go well. Sorry, you guys get the creator bullshit sometimes. The flaming corpse of what is left of CISA. Is that how I start the YouTube video too? Probably how I should start the YouTube video too, huh? Basically what I'm getting at is every time you think you fucking know what you're doing in video, And I'm like, oh yeah, look, the metrics are good. It doesn't, no one knows. We don't know. Like this one, everything says that this one should be going gangbusters and it's not. So I don't know. All right. We ready? I'm going to bang two out. Twofer. This one's easy because I only need the Krebs article. Sorry, I got distracted. Let's do it. All right. Just continue to clear my plate so that I can keep recording. Everyone, back off. I know I run a company and things need to happen. What is this? Hold on. Team PCP is now teaming up with Lapsus. GitHub auction $95,000 for their repos. Framed as no extortion, single buyer, supply chain story. What does Lapsus have to do with this? It was $50,000 2 seconds ago. If TeamC concerns as a Lapsus affiliate, the GitHub extension breach attribution shifts overnight. So I'm confused. Oh my God. It's so like attribution is just fraught. A fool's errand. A fool's errand. All right. Let's do it. I don't think there's any updates on this one, right? No. All right. All right. Sorry, chat. Got to make you disappear again. Everyone say bye. Bye. Did you guys in chat, have you seen this story yet? Did you already see my short? Or is this going to be fun for you? This is like one of the crazier fucking stories. It's going to be fun for you? Okay. You have not seen it. Roman, you're fired, man. You're fired. You don't have alerts for my shorts, Roman? What kind of intern are you? The one that I currently give no work or money to. Oh man, someone wrote, damn, how could GitHub have gotten popped with a malicious VS Code extension when Mythos already solved cybersecurity? How come sometimes I have to like push all 3 of these to get them to work?
Mythos.
Sorry for not watching you sleep. Man, I wouldn't be surprised. It's my money and I need it now. Yo, is JG Wentworth still in here? That's like someone else in chat's name. Did you see John Oliver did a JG Wentworth like video? No, I can't. I'm not going to squirrel. I was literally thinking about the guy in chat whose name is 877 JG Wentworth. He's like one of my frequent chat homies. And I saw John Oliver do a video about JG Wentworth. I was like, oh, damn. It's my homie. All right. Lock in. The flaming corpse of the cybersecurity. I got to start like this again, right? I have to do this again. Okay. The flaming corpse of what's left of CISA, the cybersecurity agency of the US government, just got breached or just did a data leak, I guess you could say, in one of the more embarrassing ways I've ever seen. This is just kind of a ridiculous article that we have to go through for so many reasons. So right off the bat, it was a researcher at a security firm, GitGuardian, that found a GitHub repo that I don't know if someone at CISA thought that naming the repo private made it private, but just what a screenshot this is. Private CISA public. So this is a public repo that got pushed, and it's just absolutely filled with secrets that should not be public about internal CISA systems. And the only reason that you and I know about it, and we're talking about it right now, is because the researcher reached out to a bunch of people and just could not get anyone to respond to them about this. And they realized what they were sitting on was so sensitive that they had to reach out to Brian Krebs, the journalist that could help make this public and get this information removed from the freaking internet. They were just trying to do the right thing and get this stuff not out there anymore. Then the actual information in this repo is also just incredibly embarrassing. Like credentials and files, including plain text passwords in CSVs, logs of all sorts of internal systems, including access to AWS GovCloud systems. If you don't know, the government uses their own version of AWS. They don't use the same data centers as you and I. No. We couldn't possibly commingle such sensitive information with us. So they have GovCloud. It's its own thing. It's basically a dupe of AWS just for the government, which has got even more protection so that it's not part of the, crazy cloud that we all use, that if 2 things are on the same server, people are still scared that we can read other things on that server. No, but we do publish keys to these things just in public GitHub repos. Passwords stored in plain text in a CSV, backups in Git, explicit commands to disable Git secrets detection feature. Oh yeah, hold on. We didn't even get to this. They have evidence in the commit history that shows that the CISA administrator disabled the default settings in GitHub that block users' ability from publishing SSH keys and other easily identifiable secrets to public repos. Like, this is built into GitHub because so many people constantly push SSH keys, API keys, things that are easily regexable, right? With that GitHub could stop from going out to public repo. That is a feature nowadays because it's so prevalent, and that was actually disabled as a protection. The researcher thought that this was fake as they analyzed this because they were like, there's no way that this is actually out here. And I want to jump ahead a little bit because we do have a quote from a CISA spokesperson, which, listen, I am shocked that someone is still on payroll at CISA that is a spokesperson because they have just absolutely gutted this place with budget cuts over the last few years. But they say, currently, there is no indication that any sensitive data was compromised as a result of this incident, which I guess password CSVs are not sensitive data these days. I think what they probably mean is that it doesn't look like anyone besides the researchers got a hold of this and actually used this information as part of like a data breach. So this is just like a data leak that we get to all read about in the news, but they're saying that there isn't ripple effects. Okay. And then they go on to say, we hold our team members to the highest standards of integrity and operational awareness, and we're working on additional safeguards to prevent future occurrences. Excuse me. It is really, really hard to look at that quote in the same article as we disabled the feature in GitHub that would have prevented this. We pushed plain text password. Why do plain text passwords exist in any CSV anywhere? And then if we go down, the people actually analyzing the passwords, where is it? Here you go. I don't even need to scroll from the we hold our team members to the highest standard paragraph to see that the plain text password, which shouldn't have existed in a CSV file anyway, but they were easily guessed passwords for a number of internal resources, and many of them were a password of the platform's name followed by the current year. I mean, I just can't, like, this is early 2000s security stuff going on here. The researcher said such practices would constitute a serious security threat for any org, even if those creds were never exposed externally, noting that threat actors often use key credentials exposed in internal networks to expand their reach after establishing initial access. Yeah, this is just insane. This is why this is so embarrassing. So yes, it seems like we have evidence that this was actually a contractor that was trying to like duplicate their work between machines, though they said like we don't have a lot of breadcrumbs in the Git history to determine like which machine was used for this, but it just kind of smells like a contractor that was trying to do some government work on a different laptop and was using GitHub to sync all the important stuff between those two laptops and just happened to do so publicly. But then another researcher that was part of this actually tested the AWS keys to the GovCloud system, which I would have been terrified that the helicopter would have landed on my roof and people would have been breaking through the windows if I used the leaked keys to try to get onto AWS GovCloud. But this guy with absolute guts that just went in and were like, well, I just want to validate that these keys are actually a thing, because what are my, I did a short on this yesterday, and what are my comments filled with? This must be a honeypot. There's no way that this is legitimate. Well, here you go. You got this researcher logging into GovCloud. And then what did he see when he got in there? He was able to touch the artifactory system for GovCloud. He validated the exposed credentials could authenticate to 3 AWS GovCloud accounts at a high privilege level. And he used plain text creds to SysA's internal artifactory. So this is an internal repo of all of the images and code packages that they're using to build the rest of their software. So he could have used these creds, and instead of just stealing information, could have impacted the actual build artifacts of a bunch of internal SysA systems to have laterally moved, established persistence, a whole bunch of nastiness. So it literally took Krebs and this other firm, Seralis, notifying SysA to get the GitHub account taken offline. I don't know why that original researcher couldn't get a response, but of course, if you see an email from Brian Krebs, you best be answering it, because it's not a good day for you. Even after the GitHub repo was taken down, the exposed AWS keys continued to remain valid for another 48 hours. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. I've been incident response at high level at organizations like this, when source code goes out the door, when secrets go out the door. 48 hours of known creds not being rotated is insane. Creds that you know were leaked and public is insane. That is incredibly slow. okay? Incredibly slow. I am not a fan of like dunking on people during a breach or a data leak. That's not me. We've all been there. Security's hard, budgets are hard. This is crazy. This shows a lot about just like the basic security hygiene of the cybersecurity agency of the government. That's their job is to help other agencies raise their security bar, right? What is this showing us? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm freaking out. Again, like, don't throw stones. You know, we've all been there. This is all hard. This is, even if this GitHub repo never went public, what this showed us about the internal security practices of what's going on behind the firewall, right, is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. Even the speed of response tells us a lot. I know that if I worked anywhere and then we got an email from Brian Krebs with a list of AWS keys that they had just used to get into our AWS accounts, how do you not have a pager and that stuff shut down within minutes? I have no idea. I've worked for places with much smaller budgets and much less at stake than what is at stake for CISA. And I got the page at 1 o'clock in the morning and had that crap turned down and responded to. 48 hours to get a few AWS keys rotated when you got the cybersecurity investigative journalist knocking at your door telling you that the emperor's got no clothes? I'm losing my mind. This is embarrassing. There's not even a lesson to be learned here. The lessons to be learned here were learned 15 years ago. Usually I talk about a breach. I'm like, hey, this is what modern threat actors are doing. This is what we got to do. Supply chain malware, and like they're phishing our help desks, and like you got to really up your game in all these areas. The lessons that we could be learned from this data leak were learned in 2008. I don't understand what's going on. I'm sorry if you work at CISA and this hurt your feelings. I'm sure there's tons of really good, talented employees that are still there because they believe in the mission and they've survived the budget cuts. Hug ops to all of you. This is crazy. I wish we got more than those couple lines from the spokesperson that said we hold our teams to the highest standard, which nothing in this article points to anything close to the highest standards that you would expect from an agency like this. Do all the YouTube things down below. Follow for more cybersecurity news. All right. What's up, chat? You're back. I turned you back on. It's fucking nuts. Fucking nuts. Nuckin' futs. All right. Welcome back, MJ. It's a proper titty twist. Guy, I really don't like making those videos. I really, really don't. I'm not even fucking around. At the end of the video, I don't like breach porn doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to just be the guy that's like, look at this fucking company that did security wrong this one time. You know what I mean? We've all done it. We've all done it. We've all done it. That's bad, though. That's bad. I mean, they say, like, we think a CISA contractor was using this GitHub to synchronize files between work laptop and home computer. The fact that there aren't so many layers that wouldn't allow that to happen is insane. You know what I mean? The fact that there aren't just so many layers that like would fit, like that would make this whole thing fail is insane. You had me on mute. It looked like I was freestyling. Oh boy. Spit hot fire. Top 5 rappers of all time. Dylon. Spit hot fire. Dylon spits hot fire. It's a combo of bad practice, cover up, and lackadaisical recovery. Yeah, dude. The agency has lost nearly a third of its workforce. I mean, it's hard to fucking blame them, right? Like, what could the morale be like over there right now? It's like, could you imagine anyone working at Meta right now? That's insane, right? Like knowing all the layoffs are coming and like, you know, same with this, right? Who the fuck is working at CISA going, yeah, my job is safe here. Did I hear Mark do the, oh no, I didn't listen to that. Is that on Twitter or something? Where is that? Is this it? Let's listen to it.
Layoffs are top of mind, but there were also some, in other news, I know layoffs are top of mind, but there were also some updates this week around, and a question around employee device tracking. So can you share more on employee device tracking?
I know layoffs are top of mind, but like, can we just quickly change gears and talk about how you're training internal AI models to replace all of us by watching all of our keystrokes and mouse movements? Who the fuck is working here?
I think the way that it was announced left folks with some... Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about what we're doing. You know, like Alex just said, going into what makes these AI models great, right? There's basically a few key ingredients. There's getting the research and the architecture good. There's having good infrastructure, which is both the quantity of compute, but like as important, if not more, is also just like how efficiently can you use it? How reliable is it? What is the quality of that? And then the third piece, which is in some ways, it's hard to say that any of these are more important than the other because they're all necessary, is effectively the data and what knowledge it learns. So we're in a phase where basically the AI models learn from watching really smart people do things. And if you're trying to get it to be able to do certain capabilities, having it be able to observe really smart people doing those things is very important. So there are a few.
You guys hear what he's saying, right? Of course, we need to observe our really smart people if we're ever going to get an AI model to do the things that our really smart people do right now, so we can not have the really smart people around anymore, right?
Examples of where we're trying to do this across the company, because one basic insight and hypothesis that we have is that a lot of data generation across the field is done by these like contract companies. And Alex knows a bunch about this because you ran one before coming here. But in general, the average intelligence of the people who are at this company is significantly higher than the average set of people that you can get to do tasks if you're working through the contract, through these contractors. So if we're trying to teach the models coding, for example, then having people internally build tools that or solve tasks that help teach the model how to code, we think is going to dramatically increase our model's coding ability faster than what others in the industry have the capability to do, who don't have thousands and thousands of extremely strong engineers at their company. So that's one example. Another thing that our system needs to be very good at is using computers. So the way that you get a system to be good at using computers is by having it watch really smart people use computers. So that's basically the essence of what we are trying to do here. We're rolling it out in a way that is like, you know, it's like we're not like actually, no human or anything is like looking at or watching what people are doing on their computers. The content is sort of, stripped out in like as much as is possible.
Guys, everything you do on your corporate machine, of course, people can watch. Of course, right? Yes, humans can look at it. Also, why would it be any more comforting Like if you have a problem with that, like why would you have less of a problem with like the AI thing is watching everything you do on your computer?
It's like none of the data is being used for like looking at what people are doing or surveillance or performance tracking or anything like that. It's purely just like we are using this to feed a very large amount of content into the AI model so that way it can learn how smart people use computers to accomplish tasks. I think that this is going to be a very big advantage if we can do it. So anyway, that's what we're trying to do. I think that there are going to be...
So he literally didn't say anything to, it wasn't like, hey, just to like clear this up because, you know, you guys might not feel a certain way about it. You know what I mean? He just was like, yeah, that's like the thing that like you have a problem with. That's what we're doing. I have a take that I've seen. Here's another reason I don't like this guy. And some of you in here know this already. This guy's like, it just makes an outrageous amount of sense for companies to use the work they're paying employees to do as training data. Otherwise, you would have to generate fake work and pay more people to complete the fake work. Of course. This guy really bugs me, man. It makes an outrageous amount of sense that companies would use the work that they're paying for. Oh, man, this guy bugs me. Wait, where'd it go? I lost it. I can't keep clicking around. Here it is.
Probably other things around the company where we basically try to enlist the fact that we have just like a very high quality set of people to teach the AI systems to do different things that we need to get them to be able to do over time. So this probably isn't the last thing like this. But I think this is like an interesting strategy. I think that we want to see how well it does. At this point, it's somewhat of a hypothesis. We'll actually be able to complete the loop to see how well these kinds of things actually improve it. If they don't, we won't do more things like it. If they do, then we'll probably do more things like it. So I think that's kind of the basic thing. In terms of how we communicate about this, I mean, this stuff is tricky. I think
not just first TanStack and now GitHub. GitHub because of TanStack. The VS Code extension that the developer at GitHub downloaded was popped by the NPM worm because of TanStack.
I mean, I think like when I was looking through the details of this, there's like all these things that we could have done better. So that, yes, I mean, yes, acknowledged, and we'll try to improve this. The kind of core tension on this is that we want to communicate as clearly as possible about what we're doing while not having all of the details of things that we think are going to be strategically differentiating leak immediately to the two competitors. And so I think part of the challenge...
Yeah, he has an issue, right? Because his company's too big and morale is too low, that of course every announcement that goes out to the company is immediately leaked, right? He's got so many people there that like are not happy to be there, right? Like, you know, I worked at smaller companies with like less morale problems where like leaks happened occasionally, but like, I mean, this was probably within moments of this shit happening. So he knows, like Zuck knows that an all hands of internal employees is basically a press conference at this point.
Just like we are a pretty big company. If we post stuff publicly, it leaks. Some things matter more if they leak than others, right? Like if we're building something in our, ad system, for example, or our infrastructure that's like bespoke to us and it's not something that other people are going to copy and it leaks, it's like not that big of a deal, right? Maybe it's kind of annoying. I think we know that AI is like one of the most competitive fields, right? Like probably in history. So anything that can give us, that can make the quality of our thing better, is generally not something that I think it is in our strategic interest as a company to lay out the details in a lot of detail, knowing the physics of the situation is that stuff is going to leak. So I think you will have to, we're just going to have to navigate that. And it's going to be a little bit different on a thing-by-thing basis in terms of how we communicate. But I actually think it is like not strategically in your interest for us to communicate everything like in all the detail that we normally would on this. But I think we do need to try to make sure that we get this right and communicate enough so that people understand what's going on. So this, I think, will be a continued thing that we're trying to navigate.
This is insane. Could you imagine working someplace that you can't trust enough of the people around you, that like so many things just have to be a need to know basis at your own company? Like, how much does that suck, right? That like you don't have just like a coworker environment that like that can be transparent. Like everything has to be need to know.
Part of the complexity of trying, how do we navigate running the company through what is just this incredibly dynamic period. I think that there's like lots of things that I think people would like more certainty on than we have, lots of things that people would like more details on, that it's not necessarily like, it's not that it's bad for any one person to know, but it is bad if it leaks. And I don't know how we exactly navigate that. So that's the basic situation on that.
That's rough. That's rough. That's a rough place to be. What are the quotes on this? Just flaming him. Yeah, he's just getting dragged. Man, that's brutal. That's brutal. Ranger Foundry. If you go watch top of stream on VOD, you can catch some more. And I just recorded a dedicated YouTube video about the topic. So we've talked a lot about the GitHub thing already. I'll give you the quick once over since you're here, and I appreciate you being here. Some threat actors said on a forum that they were selling GitHub's repos. GitHub said they were investigating last night. This morning they said, yep, this happened. It's because a developer downloaded a poisoned VS Code extension. They didn't say which VS Code extension, but we think that it's this one, NX console. And then these guys came out with like a write-up, and their write-up says that one of their developers got their GitHub accounts cred stolen. And then I even just saw after I recorded it that, I mean, that looked like it looked and smelt like NPM worm. But I then saw someone say TanStack. Let's see if I saw another tweet say that I can't find it, but yeah. Anyway, I thought it was the NPM worm for sure, but then someone said that the NX console hack was because of TanStack. So that's why. It's crazy. Oh my God. The best tweet of the week. Oh my God. So good. Oh, it's just so good. Come on. This is Museum of Twitter. Francisco, did you see who I pulled up and their reaction to the Zuck thing? Jay, it's GitHub saying they're investigating unauthorized access, and someone replied to them, holy shit, how'd the attackers find a large enough uptime window to get in? Just Museum of Twitter. You were looking away? Yeah, it was Austin. Yeah, it was Austin. It makes outrageous amounts of sense for companies to use the work that they're paying employees to do as training data. Of course, he had a shit take on this, didn't he? Just of course. Of course. Ooh, Austin Larson liked my tweet. All right, guys. I'm going to go try to fix my feel like shitness. I don't know why. I've like had like waves of being lightheaded all day. I've hydrated, I've ate. What is flow state and 200 joules even mean? Jay, I don't even know what you just did. I've never seen that alert before. I don't know what a joule is. What was that? I'm guessing that cost you money, so thank you. I literally don't know what that was. Is that YouTube's answer to bits, Twitch's bits? I appreciate you. What up, Coyote? Sorry, I'm wrapping stream. I know you just got here, but I'm wrapping up. I'm going to go fucking maybe eat something. There is no sun today. We got crazy storms blowing through Austin right now. Did I show you guys the radar last night? It was like the craziest storm that I'd seen in years. Look at this shit. Boom. Look at that on the radar last night. We got fucked. God, man. Branches everywhere. Branches down. Your flight rerouted. Wow. Dude, storm was nuts. Nuts. I'm not going to watch it on stream because I'm getting off, but I'm really interested in Theo's Theo's most recent video. Google can't be trusted. Super interested. Intrigued in the title. Intrigued in some tweets I saw about it. So I'm going to watch that later today. Just letting you guys know what I'm going to be watching. We'll do a LinkedIn about it for sure. Also, it's pronounced Brown. No one calls me Coyote. I got you. Okay, Brown. Coyote just was more unique part of your name. I got you, though. All right, sweet. I'm going to go. I'm going to maybe eat some more food. Lay down. I don't know. I haven't had the lightheaded thing since I recorded those 2 YouTube videos, but like right before that, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Oh, you went to Tampa B-Sides? Dude, I see pictures from there. It seems like one of the bigger B-Sides ever. So I hope you had fun. All right, guys. I will be live tomorrow morning. We're gonna do the newsletter. We'll put a bow on the news for the week. And then, as I teased earlier, yes, it sounds like I'm launching a podcast with another big YouTuber that you guys know. We're going to do it on a new channel. It's going to be its own thing. It's not going to be on my channel or his channel. We're starting a new thing. We might record the first one on Friday, kick the tires a little bit. We're going to see what the format is and all this. We'll probably do some news and some guests. Right. And so, yeah, I'm excited about it. We're going to do, we're going to do the podcast thing. So that'll be cool. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe next week, the week after, to announce it. We're going to see how recording goes. This week. So, appreciate you guys. If you caught just the end of stream, VOD is up, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I'll be live normal time. I know I started late today because I had to talk to a customer in Dublin who can only do the mornings, but tomorrow morning should be normal time. So I'll see you kind of in the first part of my